All right. Well, it appears that we are live. Now, I know this kind of came spontaneously today. Why am I suddenly going live? Well, a couple different reasons. Number one is because my show that I'm on decided that they were going to finish early. And I was like, well, geez, I have all this time and might as well go live, live stream. Because I was thinking about it earlier this week and thinking about doing it on Sunday, but I said, you know what, it would be better if I could do it on Friday or Saturday, but Saturday I'm usually busy, and Saturday night that is. And then tonight just kind of presented itself to me. And so I was like, well, I'll take it. This being that this is actually an anniversary for me. Now, I know that if you look back at my channel and when it started officially, it officially started about 6 weeks and 5 years ago. But truth be known, it was actually it was actually started a bit earlier, simply because I wanted a chance to what's the best way to put it? I wanted a chance to actually get ahead of it. Like, I started the channel and I started working on the artwork, and hi there, Joey. And I started kind of getting an idea of the way I wanted things to look and how I wanted things to sound, and kind of, getting the channel organized. Because originally, if I just put myself on camera and had no game plan for how things were going to go, background was whatever it was going to be, and just it looked however it was going to look, it would not have gone very well because my background did not look great. So I decided to use a set piece. I covered this all in a video that I did called My History in Starting Sound Speeds. But it's been 5 years since my first upload as of this Sunday. So I decided that it would be a good opportunity to actually do a live stream. I've been meaning to do a live stream for a while, and this seems to be a pretty good opportunity to do so. So what I thought I'd do is I'd come on and just hang out and see what happens. Oh, cool. New supporter. Thank you, Joey. And greetings from Sydney. So that's Andrew. Andrew is in here too from Sydney. So that means it's probably Saturday morning, for him, if not early afternoon, depending. I don't know the time frame. But thank you very much for joining as a supporter, Joey. So we have, how many people do we have in chat right now? I don't even know. How many people are watching? We have 2 people watching. Woohoo, 3 people. And we just have a new member, which is awesome. So, hey, I'm here to take your questions if you have any. 1 p.m. Saturday. So it's Saturday afternoon. Awesome. It's still Friday night for me. And I got off work a little bit a while ago. And we started this morning at 10:30 a.m., which with my pre-call, it was 10. And then we didn't finish until, I guess it was about 8:30. Probably about 8:30 by the time I got out of there. And on my way home, it was pretty uneventful. I had to stop by someplace on the way home, and then I got home and just was talking to my wife and told her that I was thinking about doing a live stream, so I might as well do it. But, this is actually pretty cool because for some strange reason, I only had and I'm going to address this real quick because one of the very first things that happened here is Joey joined as a member here. So it's kind of cool. Wait a minute. Oh no, Coffee, you're in Brazil? Wow. He's all the way in Brazil. That's cool. Because it's really weird how things kind of happen on YouTube. Viewership has pretty much gone down on everything except political commentators that have a problem with the current administration and stuff because they're going like crazy. Either that or unless the algorithm chooses you to send a message and therefore it boosts you, or game streamers. Those groups are all kind of growing right now, and sound-related channels really aren't very much, except Audio University, which is kind of a weird anomaly. It's grown like crazy, and anyway, so but it's really weird because I don't push the like, share, subscribe, donation, join membership thing, and for some strange reason I don't know what the reason for it is. In the past month, I've got 5 new subscribers now, thanks to Joey just joining. And it's it's made me kind of puzzled. What has the YouTube algorithm said, hey, you should join the membership? Because it's a very weird thing to me how I don't play to the algorithm and how it actually will choose to do things and when it chooses to do things. And I don't understand it. But I might ask Bandrew to explain it to me somehow and sometime. What's up? Greetings from Brazil. Your channel is full of great content and valuable information. Thanks for the awesome work there, sir. Thank you very much, Joey. Appreciate that. Hello. Are these questions just questions from chat, or are these prepared? These are from chat. If you have a question, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer. Now, keep in mind, as I say in my channel intro, I don't know everything, nor do I claim to. If you ask me a question about what is the best audio interface, I don't do that. I'm a pro. I'm a pro sound guy. Now, if you ask me about cables, oh, geez, I'll go down a rabbit hole and we'll start talking about cables. You want to talk about things I know? Oh, we'll dive deep. If you want to talk to me about whatever, about whatever else, it's not a pro topic, I'll probably be like, ask Curtis Judd on Sunday. Ask Bandrew in, his BSP. Yeah, I just, anyway. But, so yeah, Omnitone, if you have a question, by all means, go for it. Doc Justice is here. Thank you very much, Doc, for popping in here. Thanks for growing the channel. It's been great. Thank you. It's really interesting to me because I've known from the beginning this is a niche of a niche of a niche channel. It's I don't play to the algorithm. I don't play right. I don't do things the right way. So, for growth. And my audience, the pros, they don't go to YouTube for information. So my primary audience doesn't even come to this platform. It's kind of funny. So a lot of the people that will actually come to this platform and watch my videos, unless I link to it and say, this is a video that will answer your question, most people who are my target market and audience don't even come here. It's kind of funny. So it's been a very interesting growth thing. And Doc, you and I have talked about the whole YouTube thing many, many times. And today, actually, no, it was yesterday, wasn't it, Doc, that the Microphone finished their pre-orders. So I posted about it and reposted your tweet on Twitter. I really hope people jumped on board and got it while they could, because I think it's going to do some really cool things. And I'm very impressed with the way it is. And anyway, so about to grab a burger for lunch. Listen attentively, typing intermittently. That's fine. What's the best McDonald's fish sandwich? The Curtis Judd. If you watch my rye coat video recently, Nick and I started joking about this a long time ago, where talking about McDonald's fish sandwiches, and I can't remember even how it started, but I was actually talking to him on the phone one day, and had my window down because I was going through a drive-through at McDonald's, and I ordered everything, and then he yells out, "And a fillet of fish." I'm like, no fillet of fish. So it was kind of funny. But anyway, we started asking Curtis Judd in his live stream on Sunday, what's your favorite fish sandwich? And finally, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, he finally answered. And so I decided it would be funny to put in my rye coat video for no real reason. So if you watch the very beginning of that, it's in there for, like I said, no real reason, but it's fun. Would love to hear your thoughts on the Octavia MK012 kit. All right, on the quality spectrum. I'm looking for an indoor hypercardioid, and I've heard you mention it a few times. Cheers. Okay, yes. Let me address this one. The MK012 is a modular microphone, the poor man Schoeps CMC 641. And I say poor man's because it's about... what is it? A little bit more than a tenth the price. But then it comes with a hyper, an omni, a cardioid pattern, and it comes, you can also get it with an elbow, so it's like the GVC swivel, but it doesn't have that Schoeps quality. Now, why do I say poor man's? Because if you want to spend $350 up to $400, it's come a long way. It used to be that, you'd get your Octavia MK012, and it would come in a wooden case, and that was it. There were mods that were done, like here in America. BillsRecording.com is great because Bill Sadler, I think is his name. He does a lot of modifications to it. Well, over the course of time, Octavia has actually put some of those tweaks into their microphones. So, as I understand it from talking to people like Todd Weaver, he says it's not so much that they're not so, it's not so important for you to do the mods anymore, because Octavia's actually improved their microphones quite a bit. It used to be, though, If you got those microphones, you could send him to Bill's recording, and he would perform like a $75 mod on it for you that would upgrade certain things to a premium parts, and suddenly that supercardioid pattern would stretch out. It would reach out a lot more, the hypercardioid, and it would pick up a lot better. Now, being that you can still go low profile, you could turn it into a Colette, you could put a GVC swivel on it and use it as a Colette. It does, if you got it modified, it would have a slightly increased amount of power to it. Or a requirement, rather, because the premium parts required more power. And that's not voltage, so it's not 48 volts. What it would be is milliamperage. A lot of people underestimate milliamperage. Some microphones are very easy on the milliamperage, only requiring, like let's just say, 800 milliamps or something like that. Yes. And then some microphones, like the Shep CMET 5U, goes up to, I think, 4,400 milliamps is the power consumption on that? It doesn't sound right, does it? It might be. It sounds like a lot of amperage, but then it is 48 volts. So, I mean, so if you use, for example, a microphone and you use a battery-powered supply, a UMP2 ambient, if you use a Denicky PS1 for a wireless boom, something like that, then what you'll run into is it may supply 48 volts phantom power, but the milliamperage might start to deteriorate over time. And as it starts to happen, that amperage, that milliamperage might start to drop. And as that happens, microphones will react differently. Some microphones will maintain fidelity until all of a sudden it goes, squeals, and then dies. Some will start to lose that fidelity and will almost start to sound like you have a lisp, or it will start to sound like, that kind of noise that you have in your mouth. You'll start to hear that kind of stuff coming from the microphone. You're like, whoa, is that right? Is that, detail going on the microphone? No, it's a milliamperage being dropped on that microphone as it's slowly starting to die. Now, that's the reason why some microphones, like even Zaxcom with their ZMT4, they have 45 volts phantom power, because a lot of microphones will take 45 volts just fine, not just requiring 48, and it's still going to work in perfect fidelity because it doesn't under the milliamperage, and they find it just fine and effective if you give it 45 volts as opposed to 48. And so when you talk about something like the modified version of the Octavias, it requires more power. So wanted to mention that if you do the mod. So it might, let's just say that it's 3 milliamps. Then what it might be at that point is it might turn it to 4 or 5 or something like that. So it might require more power. But the reason I'm pointing all this out is because when you talk about the Octavia, it was designed to be extremely versatile. You can use it in a car with the omnidirectional pattern as a Colette with an elbow. It's going to play perfectly fine in the middle, above people in a car. If you're especially on a budget, it's a very, very effective microphone. It's very good. And it's not just like a regular pencil condenser. It allows you to buy things like the swivel, which turns it low profile, so you could take it up against a ceiling. It allows you to go modular and to just have the capsule sticking at the end of a Colette that goes along, and then you could fit it inside of your car, visor and stuff like that, and keep the actual microphone and transmitter and stuff elsewhere. It allows a lot of versatility. It's an extremely good combination. And as a matter of fact, it's considered in many ways to be the gunshot version of some of the microphones that you might be familiar with, like the MKH50 or the Shep CMC 641. It's not so much if they can't afford one of those, it's just if they're doing a lot of gunshots and you still have dialogue and people yelling over it, and you don't want to necessarily run the risk of having a microphone directly point blank on them and then blowing a $2,200 Sheps or a $1,200 Sennheiser, you might say, you know what, I'm willing to blow just a capsule on the Octavia because I can replace the capsule for a couple $100 as an L&D. And I'm still going to be able to get my dialogue, and it's still going to sound just fine. So a lot of times people will actually use the Octavia in those kind of circumstances, or they reserve the right to. Some people don't. They say, well, just don't cue the microphone on it. As soon as there's gunfire, turn the other direction. Now, of course, in modern day filmmaking, there's a lot less gunfire than there used to be. With regards to a lot of gunfire that you'll see on TV and movies, that kind of thing. You'll see Of course, after the Alec Baldwin thing where Helena Hutchins was killed last year, things like that, you're going to probably see even less and less of it because the film industry is starting to push back and saying there's no reason to use use blanks on set anymore because you can very easily get away with doing it VFX and it looks good. And even the recoil in your hand snap back, it's a very quick thing to go doom like this and animate. I'm sure they have it down to a science. So anyway, that is my thoughts on the Octavia MK012. I think it's a very effective kit for the money. You could do a lot of really cool things with it. In a car, you don't even have to angle it down towards you. You could just put it in the visor straight outwards towards you, and as long as it's peeking out, it's going to fill up perfectly. It's going to kind of have a little bit of a boundary layer effect off the roof because the roof is kind of similar to this. It's got a nice cushion type, reinforcement. And then on the other side of that, it bounces back towards you because it's metal. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do with them. In cars, as boom mics and that kind of thing, and if you get the mod on it or you buy the kit and then perform the mod yourself, you're going to be pretty happy with it. And as a bang for the buck, I think it's extremely high on my list of microphones I would trust because, I've used it on set. Granted, it's been, I think, since 2010 since I've used it on set. But still, when I was doing a lot of smaller projects, it hadn't really, made it to the, made it to the level I'm at. And I don't really see them that often anymore, especially since really good microphones have come down in cost. That Octavia is still one to beat. It's still extremely versatile. It comes with a lot of things, and it's very good, and it can get you some really good sound. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see here. All right. I've been wanting to put my money to use and buy one of the MXL condensers. I'm surprised at how many of them there are. I am a baritone, so I wonder which one of those mics has the most flat curve. MXL condensers. Okay. Remember the thing I said a little while ago about being a pro? I've never used an MXL condenser. I don't have any experience with them. I don't know anything about them. So unfortunately, I cannot give you information about that. I cannot even name what is MXL. Is 770 one of them? I think I remember hearing that. Honestly, I would say put this question to Bandrew over at his podcast, which is Ask Bandrew, I think, at gmail.com. Go to Bandrew Says or Ask Bandrew, one of the two, on his YouTube channel. Go to the Bandrew Says podcast on YouTube, and underneath it will say ask a question. It's Ask Bandrew, I think, at gmail.com. He will answer it because he has a lot more information. He's tested them. He knows them. And I'm sorry. I don't want to mislead you. That's one thing I don't want to do. And I don't want to just make up something or look up something really quickly and give you an answer. I don't trust that kind of, I don't trust myself well enough to give good information. I'd rather give you nothing than give you something that's misinformation or potentially misinformation. Hope you understand. Sorry. I would totally answer if I knew. But unfortunately I've never used one of those. Anyway. Okay. So what is my signal change for today? Same as always. The CAD Equitech E100S. It's going through the Heil. Oh, great. I'm never going to get that back in position, am I? Heil PR40. No. What am I saying? Heil PL2T arm. That's the arm I'm using. And then it goes through that. Now, I'm never going to be able to get this thing back where it was. I shouldn't have messed with it. And I think, there I go, lowering it again. I'm never going to. Yeah, and I'm using one of my SoundSpeeds cables. Am I? I don't know. It's going in the back. Let's not get this in frame. And then it's leaving here. It's a vintage CAD Equitech E100, and it leaves here, goes through a cable, either one of mine or something else, into my DBX286S. And I have it in my regular mode where the gate is, I use a lot of compression, so that way I can back off a little bit and you're still going to hear me. I can get closer and it's going to compress back down. And so that way you hear me. And now, geez, nothing is going right. I'm just got to get in this chair and sit here. That's fine. And then from the 286S, it goes into my Sound Devices Mix Pre 6, and then it goes straight to YouTube. So yeah, there you go. That is my signal chain. It's the same signal chain I use all the time. I'm pretty boring. And I like it because it's very small. It fits this size. It is literally sitting right here, and if I picked it up, there's a chance I'd unplug it, but the whole thing is this big. So it just fits on my desk right there. I was going back and forth texting Tom Buck earlier today, and I said, look, the Rodecaster Pro 2 is definitely, if the Mix Pre 6 did not exist, I would be probably looking at the Rodecaster Pro 2, and because I think that it's extremely versatile, and what you can do with it. But since the Mix Pre 6 is there, for what it does, in my opinion, better than the Rodecaster Pro 2 could. But then the Rodecaster Pro 2 does a lot more, which makes it a lot more versatile. So there you go. I just don't have a use for the Rodecaster Pro 2. Even the Rodecaster Pro 1 I have, after I did a video on it, it went back in the box and it's upstairs, and my daughter, who makes music and stuff like that, could connect it up and record the music if she wanted to and mix around and play with it if she wanted to. We just haven't connected it up. So I feel really bad because it's a great piece of gear still. Just because there's a better piece of gear out doesn't make it completely ineffective. So it's just I don't have a use for it. So there you go. Okay. I've used a live sound mixer that provided 22 volts phantom, dumbest voltage spec I've ever seen, only Shure Microflex with it. That can run everything from 10 to 1152. Yeah. And some microphones do run on 48 and 24 and 12. Honestly, I don't know why they can run on different ones. I guess it only requires certain voltage, and I guess it would step it down. Or maybe it just, because I don't think the fidelity drops in those microphones if you give it 12 volts versus 24 versus 48. And maybe just the capsule and the electronics don't require as much voltage. And for that reason, can run off of them. But I don't know why, one would actually power it off of 24 and not 48. Or if you wanted to run it off 12, run it off a battery power 12, that's fine. And then it's more friendly on your battery power. So, it's very interesting. Then, of course, worth it or not, Andre has popped in. I don't know if he's still here, but hello, Andre. If you are still here, let me turn on the timestamps on this because I need to see what time these things come in, because right now it's 11:23 as of the time of this, and I'm just now looking at his comment from 8 minutes ago. I'm doing so wonderful, aren't I? I'm so bad about answering questions in a timely manner. Viju is the bomb, sure. I've only worried about milliamperage when it comes to my lavs being paired with cheap 3.5 millimeter recorders. I've been meaning to see if my COS 11D sounds better with 48 volt XLR adapter. I don't know if it does or if it doesn't, because a lot of lavs are 5 volts or 3 volts, depending on the one you use. And they're designed to go off of that. So if you got a 48 volt adapter, I don't think it will, because it would step that down. It's not going to suddenly add all that extra power into the lav and suddenly, give it all this extra fidelity. I don't think it will. It would be, if you do that test, Andrew, I would love to hear your results. Thanks for the great info, Alan. I figure that if you'd be okay with the sound, then I'll be more than happy. Yeah, it's very good. Good. Then Omnitone, okay. The MXL 990 is decent for the price, but it has a bit of high self noise, which was a Jolly modded version that was pretty awesome, but I don't think he's modding them anymore. Do you have a Discord YouTube integration in your server? No. But if you're on my Discord, then all you have to do is just say, "Hey, this is Joey," and either send me a message directly or just in my Say It channel, just say, "Hey, this is Joey," and I'll just click a couple of things, and suddenly you'll have a member status in there. So, don't worry about that. Does the Mix Pre 6 compress? No, it's just a recorder. It is a recorder with 76 decibels of gain on each preamp input, and I think it can output either 10 or 20 decibels out. Let me look at it real quick. I can't remember which one, but it's a quite powerful machine here, and I really like it. Inputs, outputs. I got to remember where it is because I don't ever go in there. I think it's under outputs. Let me try outputs because that's where it makes sense. Yeah, stereo outgain. Oh, no wonder it's been so loud. I had it up for my what is that? The Mina video testing and stuff like that. And I've been wondering why this week I've been listening to a few different shows and watching a few things. I'm like, why is it that if I turn up the Atoms, it requires less volume than before? Well, use your brain, Alan. And if you do that, it's 20 dB output again if you use the stereo output. If you use USB output, then it's just, USB send and feed. But yeah, so it's 20 dB output. Granted, it's through a 3.5 millimeter 1/8 inch TRS. If you want to do that, go for it. But usually I could go 76. How many decibels gain am I on right now? Oh, because I'm using line level, I'm just going in 0. But if I connect up a microphone, I can have up to 76 dB. I think the only video I've gone all the way up to 76 decibels on was one of the ones I did on sensitivity, where it was, no, what was that called? It was not the one that I talk about sensitivity in. It's the one where I talk about the different kinds of sensitivity and the difference between microvolts. Hold on a second. I'll just find the video. It's a lot easier for me to just post it. But yeah, it's, let me see. I think it was called like, I don't have the preamps, or it helps if I go into my channel. I'm getting so distracted, aren't I? Squirrel. Okay, I think it was called I don't have the preamps. Vintage microphone sensitivity. There you go. It's actually a good video. I like it. And unfortunately, I look at this and I'm not happy when I look at this picture because unfortunately that specification sheet that I'm looking at right there, I bought this microphone and I rented it to a show. There it is, if you want to see that link. I bought that microphone, rented it to a show. It more than paid for itself because I rented it for 2 seasons. And then that paperwork that's in the thumbnail, which is awesome because the microphone was an actual vintage version of it. It was like 40 plus years old, still sounded great. Still have the microphone. It's just the prop master on that show took the paper out of and took the microphone out and took the paper out and then lost the paper. So I was like, yeah, do you still have the paper? Because when she returned it to me at the end of the show, she's like, yeah, here you go. Here's your microphone and stuff. I'm like, yeah, do you have the documentation that came with it? And she was like, oh, I don't. Sorry. I'm like, it's like, it's a vintage microphone and I guess I'm going to be without it. But at least I showed it in that video, so at least I could look at it. But if you watch that video, it's actually a pretty cool one. But no, just to circle back to what I just got through saying, no, the Sound Devices Mix Pre 6 does not compress. It basically just takes whatever you feed it and it records it very cleanly. And there you go. So that's the Mix Pre 6. Any plans to review the Behringer UV1? Zero chance of that. I don't really mess with Behringer a whole lot. Are you open to making some more of those famous cables? Okay, here's what I'll say to that. I took orders. I decided I was going to do it because I was making them over Memorial Day weekend. And I tell you, my hands have just now started to heal because I use a lot of pressure sometimes and do things even with gloves on my hands. Here's what I will tell you. I made the cables, fulfilled all the orders, just got through putting together a few more because I had some people that were interested in a couple specialty things. And I made those, and then I decided to buy a few extras. So here's what I have. Right, I put it out on social media a couple weeks ago, and I said, I have available, I think it was 3 10-footers and 2 8-footers. Maybe it was the other way around, but I only sold one of those. So I still, geez, why is it that whenever I do a live stream, my nose starts itching? So I do have 2 8-footers and 2 10-footers available now for sale. I just got through. I finished them. They are quite literally there, ready to ship out tomorrow. I could ship them out tomorrow morning if someone wanted to buy them. I do have. They are serial numbered. I did put full treatment on it. I mean, they're the Sound Speed Special, as I refer to them. So I quite seriously, have them ready to go. And so if you are interested, send me an email at alan@soundspeeds.us. And I can sell you 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of them if you would like to. They are still, in my opinion, they're a steal of a deal. Every single one I've sent out, I've had 0 complaints about, and I've fulfilled a lot of orders recently. And a lot of YouTubers use them. Tom Buck just got through he was the one that bought one of the 10-footers, I think, the one that I made. 3 10-footers and 2 8-footers. He's the one that bought one of the 10s. So I sent it to him. It arrived today. And he is just, and I told him, I told him the same thing I told like Bandrew and Curtis Judd and Mike Delgadio and other people when they bought cables from me. I think I forgot to tell them, but I might have told at least some of them, but I don't recommend people using them for product reviews if you are questioning the quality of the microphone, because they will actually fix some issues. So if you're like, oh, well, this microphone connected up to a SoundSpeeds cable, and suddenly it starts to work, you'd be like, oh, well, this is going to be great because it's, I don't have any RF issues or something like that. But you look at the comments of some of their videos, I've experienced RF issues all over the place. And then someone else replies, I do too. This thing is horrible at that. And they're just like, I don't run into any of that. Well, the reason why is because my cables actually fix a lot of things. In my opinion, they're unmatched. That's just my opinion, though. But yes, I do have available 2 10-footers and 2 8-footers if you are interested. I don't remember what the price is right now, but I think I put it on social media recently. I can look it up if you're really that interested, but shoot me a message at alan@soundspeeds.us if you're interested, and I can get you one of those sold. I actually have scheduled tomorrow morning a massage. For the first time in a long time, it was a Father's Day gift. So I was like, well, geez, because it's funny. If I go to a masseuse, because I'm a boom operator, my shoulders are basically like, lead. It's very difficult for people sometimes to have the endurance to actually break down, all the natural, muscle and stuff that I have here in the shoulders and the tension that I carry. And so my wife always ends up, or whoever who's always booked a massage for me, they always say, we need a man with a lot of hand strength or a woman with a lot of endurance and hand strength, because it will take a while for you to work him down. And it's funny because there's been times I've gone in to see them and they'll say, what do you do? Are you a steel worker? No, I'm a boom operator. But it's funny because a lot of it, and I should do a video at some point on boom techniques, because there's a lot of different schools of thought in it. Some people are like, lock your arms the old school way. Some people are like, just, keep your shoulders down. Some people will say, bring your head around. A whole bunch of different thoughts and opinions on it. And what I need to do is I need to do a video and talk about the differences in boom styles, old school versus new school, what we have to do to avoid killing ourselves. People always ask me, what exercises do you do? I'm like, none. Believe it or not, you don't need to if you boom the right way. I mean, sure, it's not going to hurt you. It's absolutely going to help you. But do you have to? No. People, during the shutdown, big shutdown in 2020, I didn't boom for over 6 months. And when I got my first show after the pandemic, it was Saints and Sinners season 6. They had someone test positive, so they shut down after, with like 2 days left, and they extended that to 3 days. And I did the last 3 days of Saints and Sinners season 6. And when I was there, my daughters, as I left that day, because we were working a deep split, and so we were working doing some overnight stuff, and my daughters were like, "Oh, have you been exercising, and stretching your shoulders and stuff like that? Are you concerned at all? I'm like, no. And they're like, why not? I'm like, because I know how to boom. Well, aren't you going to exhaust yourself? Not if you do it the right way. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm not kidding you. There's ways of not killing yourself, and I don't kill myself at all on set. There are days that are tougher than others. There are days that as I'm going home, I'm like, oh, yikes, this one hurts today, or this shoulder hurts today. But most of the time, it doesn't happen. Anyway. Okay. Hello, Jason A. Good evening, all. And I don't hope that mouse wasn't on the screen. Oh, and then I posted that link. Okay, are you going to be doing coiled cable? No, I don't touch coiled cable. And the reason why I don't mess with that is because there are already premium coiled cables. And if you buy an actual premium coiled cable, then the coiled cable itself is going to have the ends on it. Now, if you want me to, I can get a premium coiled cable and then modify it. But the thing is, I am not aware of a coiled cable with star quad. I don't really research a whole lot of coiled cables because I don't use them. I used to go straight cable on the inside of my booms. And then I went straight to transmitter on the end, and therefore I don't have a coiled cable at all. I do know K-Tech makes a wonderful one. Loon made, in my opinion, before Loon completely went under, when Don Wetzel, the genius behind Loon, when he passed and the brand just collapsed literally overnight, he used to make what I believe to be the best coiled cable in existence. It was able to collapse shorter than any other. It was, I think it was like I think I remember hearing something about it was injected with a gas or something, like the jacket was, so that way it was lower noise or something. I don't remember. I heard that. I never verified it, but there's all these different things about it. It was able to extend longer. It had a higher, like if a normal coiled cable could extend, let's say, to 5 times, like 1 inch could extend to 5 inches and then snap back. I think theirs went to 6. This one goes to 11. And, but those were in my opinion, because I tried them. I was like, this is a coiled cable, and the thing did not like pull you back in, but that thing, it snugged all the way back up every single time. It would not fold over on itself or something, probably because it was designed to extend and longer. But I'll tell you, it was the best cable. K-Tech makes a wonderful one right now. And that's probably, if I were to buy a coiled cable, that's the one I'd get. If you would like me to look into it for you, send me an email at alan@soundspeeds.us, and I can look into it. But keep in mind, if I can't find one that meets up to my standards and my requirements for being a cable that I would care about, I'm not gonna go there. I'll look into it if you'd like, because if someone makes a coiled cable with star quad, I'll look into that. I'm not aware of one. I know that a lot of the times coiled cables are just 2 or 3 in shield, conductors in shield. That doesn't cut it for me. So I mean, I can look into that if you'd like. Send me an email, and I'll look into it if you're interested. And should you Discord me? Sure, absolutely, go for it. I think Bandrew mentioned that he needed a 600-foot cable from you. Well, I may ask Bandrew if that's actually something that he would like me to do, because that's kind of interesting. The longest cable I would be able to make is 656 feet, which is the entire spool of the cable that I use. Most of the time, the cables don't the spools come in a length up to 656 feet. So if I ever ordered that much, they'd probably just send me the spool. And I don't recommend going over about 300 feet with an XLR, though. Dave Rat has done some videos where he connects up like 5,000 feet of cable, just has coil after coil after coil, and then he connects them all up to each other to see what's the loss. Very fascinating stuff. You will run into some loss, and I mean, if you're expecting it, but I mean, why would you ever want to run a cable that long unless it's to, as a joke? I mean, it would be a really funny joke to basically have a spool, have me solder it in on one end, and then plug it into your thing and say, I'm, talking on 656 feet of the longest XLR, SoundSpeed's XLR cable. If you wanted me to make it for you, sure, I'll do it. It's ridiculous, but I'll do it. Does anyone know why the CMIT 5U pops when powered on with phantom power? This is such a bizarre issue for this little microphone. Okay, let me ask you, Antoine, what humidity are you using it in? Because the Shep CMC, CMIT 5U and the CMC series and stuff like that, Shep's microphones are prone to having some issues with humidity. If you use them indoors and it's air conditioned and that kind of thing here in the South, for example, and then you go straight outside with that and it's 100 degrees and high humidity, that thing is going to sound like you dipped it in water. It's going to start popping. It's going to start making noises. Now, here's the thing. Does it do this the entire time? Or does, after you keep it open and out for a while, does it stop? Because you might say, oh, no, this thing's popping. I'm not going to trust it and disconnect it at that point. Because if that's the case, then what you may be running into is humidity that's inside the capsule, inside the microphone, and then it just not cooperating, and then you don't want to trust it, so you go someplace else. Usually, if a Sheps acclimates to its environment, it's going to be fine. But you just have to be aware of the acclimation process on that microphone. It's just like if you take a camera, an old school camera, you put it on a cruise ship. It's extremely dry on the inside. They run dehumidifiers on that. There's a lot of air conditioning. And then you go into the Caribbean, you step outside where the humidity is like 70% and it's 90 degrees, and instantly that dew sensor, it throws an error message on your camera and you can't use it for half an hour because the dew sensor has to evaporate off all the dew on it. That's very much the similar type thing as what happens on some of these microphones. If you get them and introduce them to water, even in the form of humidity, it will start popping, which is why in my HC15, HC22 video that I recently did, the Rycote one, I took it straight into my bathroom. I turned the shower on full blast for half an hour, and I just killed it and the whole room steamed up really fast. And it got totally overloaded. Why am I off center so badly? Let's see if this is any better or if this is any worse. I'm going to see if I went the wrong way with it. I'm watching I went the wrong way. What an idiot. Oh, great. I shouldn't have messed with this thing. I'm so bad. I'm sorry, guys. Look over and I shouldn't watch my own live stream, but I'm looking at the camera. Maybe I should just go this way. I'm off center. I'm going to end up having to adjust this thing. I'm terrible. I'm sorry. 1 second. What's loose? What is loose? I don't even know. But I'm not about to fix it now. I don't know. I'm gonna just drive myself crazy. I really need to stop messing with this. Okay, I'm just gonna go there and it's gonna be fine. Okay. Let's see here. But yeah, I would think that it says CMIT has a notorious issue where it pops when you turn on phantom. Is that all you're talking about? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let me go back and read this. CMIT pops when powered on with phantom power. Oh, that's it? Oh, you're not actually talking about humidity where it pops over the course of 10 minutes or 15 or whatever else. You're just talking about if it pops on with phantom power? I don't want to sound like a jerk, but what does it matter? I mean, you turn phantom power on and it engages. It's just some microphones pop. If I kill power to this one, this one has a battery backup. That's not fair. If it didn't, I think the battery is going to be charged. Like if I kill phantom power, it's going to continue to go. This is a great live stream, isn't it? What happened to the batteries inside then? Because this thing is straight up. It has batteries on the inside. This is a vintage Cat Akateki 100. I replaced the batteries in it when I first started this channel. And they're supposed to be low discharge batteries that I think recharge and hold a charge. And it can last itself for a couple of hours or something like that. Or, if you kill the power to it. So I guess I need to replace the batteries. I should just go on Amazon right now and order the batteries. Actually, you know what? I could have sworn I ordered some low discharge 9 volts to replace those. I could have sworn I did because I had looked at doing this a little while ago. I was running into popping out of this. And I remember saying, if it's a E100, I still have to compare this. I might do this as a video for Monday. I have to compare this to the E100 SX. And I'm not going to do a full review. That's not what I promised. What I promised is a listening comparison between the vintage E100 and the E100 SX, because they have very similar, as they basically, it's not the same as the E100S. It's the E100 and the E100 SX. The SX supposedly it's a cheaper microphone than the E100S, but it's also supposedly it sounds closer to this. So I'm going to see how well they do. Point blank, I'm going to do it master mic style, where I'm going to have mic 1, mic 2, mic 1, mic 2, and then reveal what they are later. And you're not going to know what either one is until the end. And I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about the specs and stuff like that, and do that as a microphone comparison. So that's what I'll do. But I think the batteries in this E100 started to go out because I started hearing popping noises. I keep looking at it because power is definitely on. It's running in flat mode with no pad. So it's just so bright in here. But I think when the batteries were starting to go up, I was hearing popping out of it, and I was like, geez, wouldn't you know it? It happened to pick this time for it to go out. But I think it's actually okay, because I haven't heard any popping out of it in a while. So I might end up doing that video and then replacing the batteries in there, because I could have sworn I bought them someplace. I don't know where in the world they are now. So I'm sure I bought. I'll just rebuy them, and then eventually I'll find the batteries I bought and be like, oh, okay, cool. Look, I have batteries I won't use, because I don't really do a whole lot with 9 volts. Okay, so yeah, sorry. So yeah, if it's just a pop when you turn it on, microphones pop. So I answered a question that took a few minutes that you didn't even ask. Sorry about that. So let's go back. Does the nose itch from the Rockwool padding at all around you? No, it's actually fine, because this here is actually the audio mute blanket. But if you look back here, that right there is the what I was talking about in the video, where I basically have the seamstress, a friend of mine who's a seamstress. I paid her and had her make me pillowcases, basically oversized pillowcases. Those go in, and then I said I wanted them sealed so that way that the insulation on the inside, the Owens Corning 703, would not be able to, it would not have any path outwards. And because it's muslin, it's a pillowcase made out of muslin. It cost a couple $100, but it was well worth it in my opinion, because there's a total of 6 panels. There's, there. I showed it in the video, in my studio upgrade video. And no, I've had 0 issues. Even the after putting them in those pillowcases, I left them in the garage and let it air out, because when you get Owens Corning 703, it can have a very strong smell. And my wife has a very sensitive nose, and she's had no issues with it at all. As soon as I brought him in, she was actually concerned about it. She's like, you don't bring insulation in the house and not have it covered. I'm like, it's not going to be uncovered. She was very skeptical. And I said, my old studio, I had panels that were Owens Corning 703 with burlap over it. I'm putting muslin on there, and I'm not bringing it into the house until they're sewn closed. So there you go. And we've had 0 issues with it. It doesn't stink at all. It doesn't smell bad at all. They air it in the garage a little bit before we brought it inside. So I think my nose is just itching in general for some strange reason. It happened in my oldest iteration of the studio. It happened in version 2, and now it's happening in version 3. I don't know why. It just always ends up happening in here. So I would agree your cables are unmatched. I'm thrilled with them. Oh, great. Thanks, Jason. Jason, I guess you ordered some recently, unless you ordered some a long time ago. But thank you. Let's see here. Father Jordan. Alan. Glad I caught you on the live stream. How's the new space treating me? I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, it's really weird to me, because when I had that 8-foot long table that was 30 inches wide, the whole thing was like this wide. And I rocked it for what it was worth. The table ended here. I had a mouse pad that basically went under my entire table. And so every place I touched was basically a mouse pad. if you watch the time lapse of me taking down my old studio, you'll see that I sat down for a while and I was pulling something off. Well, that's because I took the mouse pad off and I had put down a whole bunch of, what was it? Double-sided mounting tape. And I put that under there so that way it wouldn't it wouldn't move. But that stuff it's slightly padded. And then I remember getting really frustrated. I couldn't take it out of her. She was a little girl. But my youngest daughter, she came in and she was like, "Oh, look at this." And she grabbed it and lifted it up, which pulled all of that off, which means that the entire strip that I basically took across this entire thing, if I pulled that, then it was going to also pull from deeper. And then if I pulled all of that, I would have to basically put a new strip down, pull the entire thing there, and then put it all the way down, clean the thing up, and then put it down if I was going to do a new one. And I did not want to do that again. So I basically just said, okay, fine, it is what it is. So I just dealt with it. I think I put some Joe Sticky stuff or some Top Stick or something like that under it, and then I had to peel all that off in the studio when it changed. But with this new desk, it's on the old desk, it was 30 inches wide. It was 8 feet deep, but I was only using about, what did I say in the video? Like 21 inches of it, 22 inches, something like that. And this table here is 4 feet wide, 2 feet deep. So there's a little bit more space here in front of me that I can use for this keyboard. If I stand the keyboard up or put it up in front of my monitor, I have more than enough room to do anything I want to. Like I'm even leaning like this. Didn't have the room to do that in the old studio. And as for width, I mean, I don't need to have a monster mouse pad anymore, but I do have, my sound speeds, because it is actually a registered trademark. So that's why I can have the circle R on it. Because if not, it would say that it would just have circle TM or just say TM beside it. But this is an actual registered trademark. Actually, here you go. In my studio upgrade video, there is a shot that starts low and there's a picture frame. And on the left and right, there's two different papers. On one side, you see the SoundSpeeds logo and you see something there. On the right-hand side, you see something else. Those are the two trademarks I have for SoundSpeeds. One of them is my logo, which is the trademark logo, and the other one is the service that SoundSpeeds can provide, not just in education here on YouTube or in public speaking, but in testing products, in consulting, which I've done. I've done all these things. So that's basically what SoundSpeeds is. And who knows, in time, it could become a very big thing. I don't know. But, we'll see. Okay. But I do like the new place, the new system. Andrew Schwab, happy Friday. There is no humidity. The pop happens regardless of the environment. So, yeah, what you're talking about is just when you turn it on, a pop that happens. Pops happen. I wouldn't worry about it. Cement has a notorious issue where it pops when you turn on phantom power. I think all of them do this. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just, you got to keep in mind, Sheps is a microphone company that makes a lot of microphones and have for decades. Very, very good microphones. But they still have a lot of old school designs to them. And let the truth be known, phantom power, whether you turn it on and it pops or you turn it on and it's recessed and it doesn't pop and then all of a sudden it just sounds like it fades on, that's just a design choice. Not one of them is better than the other. Not one of them is worse on the microphone than the other. They're designed to withstand it. If you try putting something through that it's not designed to withstand, you decide you're going to take it, build an XLR cable into an Edison plug and stick it in your wall. Oh, that capsule's going to hate you and the microphone's going to fry. But that's not what it was designed to do. The microphone is designed to just basically plug up to phantom power. And if you plug it up, unplug it, unplug it, it's not going to hurt the microphone if it's made properly. And Sheps, they're not going to be damaged by you unplugging a microphone if it just so happens to be connected on phantom power. If it pops, awesome. Okay. Getting loose on a Friday night. Woo. Yeah. Loose is the opposite of tight. Okay. Let's see here. If the batteries are NiCad, maybe they've gone kaput from being power cycled. Yeah, maybe. Maybe because, and that's a very interesting point that you made there, Nick, because I... There is so many things I know I should and shouldn't do, but I don't care, and I do them anyway. I mean, that's the reason why you've seen some of my videos where I say, as I tell my kids, do as I say, don't do as I do, because I'm notoriously bad, especially with my own gear. I will do things that I know you're not supposed to do because I don't care. And it's because, it's like with regards to batteries. I always say, don't overcharge them. I don't care. I'll leave them on a charger. Don't overcharge a battery. I still have, when I moved in here, I put a couple of things on charge. They're still on charge, and I've lived here for 4 months. I shouldn't do that. I know it generates memory, and it's going to potentially be bad on the battery. I know that. I know it. I know why. I just do it anyway. And so yeah, I'm completely terrible in that regard. But yeah, there's a lot of things I should do and do differently. And one of those things was that I would leave the E100 on all the time. And then I would, if I powered down this over here, sometimes I would just kill the power to it. Thinking, maybe I'll just keep, the power on the DBX286S unpowered sometimes and see what happens. And then it would, of course, run out of battery. And then I would say, why isn't this thing work? Oh, phantom power's not on. If hit phantom power and the thing comes to life. But yeah, as soon as I hit phantom power and it dies, like right now it's back on again. Phantom power there, and the thing has 2 batteries on the inside. Yeah, that tells me pretty, straight up that the batteries have died. And so I'll get a couple more of those. I'm going to first shoot that video where I compare the vintage E100 Equitech to the E100SX, the new one. And as soon as I do that, I'll probably replace the batteries in that. I might make that a video. Would you be interested in watching a video where I take apart the E100 and replace the batteries and explain them? Because these are not the first batteries that it came with. The first batteries that came with it were actually CAD branded. I remember they were CAD branded, and I remember looking at that and saying, wow, they have their own brand of batteries. It's probably, some sort of a skin or something that they put over it. But Dr. Few and their viewers just joined. Say hello. And their viewers? What does that mean? Huh. Doctor is in, yeah. I don't know what that means, because it popped up and it said, and their viewers? That's very interesting. Dr. Fu. Live redirect. I didn't know there was such a thing. Oh, it's a raid, but I still only have 18 viewers. Now there's 20. We'll see what happens. Well, that's cool. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not aware of how to do it, Dr. Fu. So if you want to tell me how to do it, I'll gladly do it. I'll toss it to someone if I know anybody there's my nose itching again. But awesome. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Fu. You've watched all my videos, and awesome. Well, cool. Live redirect. Raid. Live redirect is found under Edit, Customization, Live Redirect. Very cool. I did not know about such a thing. I bought my mic because of you. Cool. If you don't mind, I'm going to stay in order here. I'm getting ahead of myself. I saw it told me something, and I was like, oh, what's that about? Let's see here. Batteries and I can't. Okay, thought on Deity entering the time code market. I always felt like they were a budget option, but even though their products feel and sound budget, they're packed pretty much with features. Yes, TJ. Now here's what I'm going to say about Deity. The Connect system, I still think that with regards to prosumer wireless that works in 2.4 gigahertz, they're unmatched. I still think it's the most feature-packed. The fact that they have the Zaxcom patents licensed and they're allowed to be used in the United States to their full capacity, I think is brilliant. I was actually pushing Andrew to do that a few years ago, and I'm glad they finally were able to make that work out with an agreement. The first and only agreement to date that Zaxcom has made with the company. And I think it's great. It's very, very, it's a great choice. As I said in my video, the BPTRX, I think it's a good decision, because if people get familiar with the feature sets in Deity, when they want to go up to Pro Wireless, that is UHF, there's going to be one company that has all those features, Zaxcom. And I'll tell you, I worked with Zaxcom, the ZMT 4.5 recently, and I got to tell you, the entire system, when it's running on ZaxNet, and the entire system when it's running fully operational, it is a very, very cool system. It sounds very good. It's got really cool features. It's very impressive. That's what I'll say about the Zaxcom system. And I was using the ZMT 4. Now my brain's starting to fade. I think it's ZMT 4.5 is their new one. And I just got through using that a couple weeks ago, and it is a great, small, little bitty, tiny transmitter. And it's quite powerful in what it does. A lot of respect to Zaxcom for that. Anyway, but my thoughts on them entering the timecode market. When I did my BPTRX video, if you noticed, I was very unpleased about the timecode on that. And because of it, I basically just tossed my hands up in the air and said, you know what, I'm not going to care about this. And then Andrew from Deity, before even 24 hours had expired, he was already contacting me and texting me and said, our time code is actually working well. You didn't actually test the actual time code itself. And I'm like, well, I did, but the display sucks. The only thing I didn't do was compare the time code of that compared to, which is what I did my time code video that I did release like a few days later, which was, he had gotten me a firmware because I basically said your display sucks. It was only able to display, I think, 19 frames per second at the time. And I was like, I'm just not impressed with this. And he contacted his engineers and said, can you increase the frame rate with a firmware update? Can our screen actually output 30 frames a second? They said, yes. He said, get me a firmware for that. And so he was like, okay. And then he got it to me after he tested it for a couple of days. And so after 2 days, he had this firmware and I was playing with it. I compared it to the Denicky TS1 timecode slate. I talk about it in my video, and I talked about the whole process. And over 12 hours, it's effective as far as I'm concerned. It's very effective. Now, a lot of people I've seen complain online were complaining about the fact that Deity is usually considered a more discount brand, like you said, that you want to get a discount, microphone, you want to get a discount camera mic, you want to get discount wireless, you want to get discount this and this and this. They make a great, option for that. And that's true. But their time code is a different creature, because who uses time code? Prosumers? Maybe, but not likely. Most of the time they'll use dumb slates and just use something like Pluralize to synchronize audio to video. Or you could say, then, how about people that do, their indie projects? How about content creators? They don't use time code. Believe me, I'm a content creator. I don't use time code. What I'll do is I'll do the typical clap, 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 and synchronize it to that. And it works great for me. But then time code in the motion picture industry is automated. They basically send the time-coded audio with the time-code jam picture, and they use the slate as a backup if they need to. But then what they do is they basically just go into a system, and their system automatically aligns the time-coded audio to the time-coded picture, and then they basically clip off the outsides of it. So if, let's just say, audio is 5 seconds before a picture was rolling, they clip off that first 5 seconds of audio, and then at the very, very end of it, when audio and picture, if there are like 2 seconds where one of them was rolling and the other one wasn't, usually it's picture will cut before sound, then sound will cut. They'll just clip off the last little bit of it, so that way all that's going to be there on the DAC system or in the dailies is just the clip, and they'll say, okay, well, this is what it is, and then they play it. And in something like that, it works great. So I will say this, time code is something that's a professional feature. Professionals are going to be using that in ENG work, in film, in television, scripted, non-scripted, that kind of thing. And so if it's a professional feature, then you can expect time code to carry with it a professional price. And their time code is accurate. And I have not seen their display yet. I've seen, but Andrew is very good about taking feedback. He'll ask questions in his Facebook groups. He'll ask questions and read the comments in his videos. They're very attentive to customers. He's asked me thoughts and opinions. I've gotten back to him. He's been very quick to adjust them. When I've had a concern that's been a big deal, he's very quick to act because he wants to make a good product. And for that reason, I think that the time code they release, if it's not perfect when it hits the market, As soon as he starts getting feedback, they're going to modify it. They're going to do some firmware updates. They're going to fix a lot of issues. So since it's getting into the professional world, I think that they're going to do well with it. And I would like to see them do more professional stuff after that. I picked up a sealed inbox Caddy 100S for $375. That's a good deal. I think it's a $500 microphone now, if I remember correctly. Unless it's gone up now because of the part shortage and because all electronics and inflation, everything else. Time to chug some Zip Fizz. Not quite. I'll tell you this. Past 2 days, I've been shooting exterior. So yesterday, I don't remember how many Zip Fizz I had yesterday. Today, I think I drank 14 bottles of water today at work, and I had 4 or 5 Zip Fizz. So I don't think I need more right now. Zip Fizz for the win. Eric Nathan, yes. Sup, Alan. Hello. How do you say your name? Wuote? I always look at it as the word quote, but with a W, so wote. But I know that's probably a butchering of your name. But if you could write it phonetically in chat so that way at least I know how to pronounce your name, I'd appreciate that. I just checked my Zip Fizz. Eric, well, it seems like you need to be on a live stream with me then. You could just keep the epic live stream going, and after however many hours, if I want to bail out for a bit, have someone else keep the thing going. Alternatives to stone rock wool for people with asthma and pets in room treatment. Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's not Safe and Sound. I got to remember the name of it. Because I remember researching it at one point because I was thinking about getting different types of acoustic foam or not foam, but acoustic insulation and comparing them. But then I thought about it and said no, because it depends on what you'd put it in and the rooms could be different. It's just I'm just going to be setting myself up to open a can of worms. I don't want to do that. So what I did is I decided not to. But I remember researching it, and there was one that was a green option that was made out of, I don't want to say textile fibers. I forgot what it was made of. But it was made of something. It was like they advertised it as like 99.9% allergen free or something like that. I have to try to. I mean, I'm sure if you ran a Google search for a green allergy free acoustic treatment. Now, I do remember that one was an expensive one. I mean, Owens Corning 703 right now is just as expensive for them to ship it as it is to buy the stuff, just about. I mean, it's almost that bad. But I can't remember what it was. But it was, now you might be referring to that option that Mike Delgadio recently reviewed, the thin panel. I have not heard those. I have not tested those. I do know there are green options. And I don't have any experience with them because I don't use the green options. Doesn't mean I'm not green. Doesn't mean I am green. It doesn't mean anything in particular. It just means I would rather use the tried and true stuff that I've either familiar with, like the Owens Corning 703, or has a reputation. And I say, you know what, I'll give that a try, and then I like it. Or something like that. All I've used in this studio is Owens Corning 703 and Automate blankets, with the exception of version 2, which had the insole quilts on there. And then the version 1 that had the 2-inch foam on the back. But as you've heard me talk about when I did the studio upgrade video, the reason that was there, just like I said at the beginning of this stream, the reason that was originally there was simply because, one reason, when I had a regular background, like the room behind me, and if you watch my history and starting sound speeds, that video, if you watch that video, and Nick, if you're still there, if you want to post that link, I'd appreciate it. That video is, I show a clip of my very first test of SoundSpeed's video that was up, and I thought about it. I was wearing like a red shirt. I actually, that video is just terrible. If you watch it, if you watch the clip of it that I put in that video, my background, there was like, there was something that was like, a toolbox or something like that open. There was just stuff all over the background. I think my eyes were bloodshot because I had either been tired, sleep deprived, or I had allergies or so. I can't remember what the deal was, but my eyes were like red and bloodshot. My shirt was red. I looked like, I was not, I was like, now that I'm not clean shaved, I looked terrible. It was really a funny video. But it was funny because I also said some stuff in that. I was like, wow, I actually look like I know what I'm talking about. But I said that background, though, that's terrible. I got to do something different. So that's when I decided to make a background. And I had agreed originally to do 100 episodes, one every 3 days. That's what I said I was going to do. And I was just going to be doing sound speeds until I finished those 100 videos. So it was going to be 300 days long. And the reason I was doing that was to supplement what I was teaching in the real world and answer questions that I would not want to re-answer over and over again. Because there's so many times in classes I would teach, and someone would ask me a question. I would answer it. I would teach a similar class or a different class 3 or 4 weeks later, and then someone would ask the same question again. So I was like, okay, I'll explain it again. And now what I do is I say, watch my videos on sound speeds, and I'll also pull out your phone, do a search for this. There's your answer. Now let's not use class time to answer something that you now have the answer to. And I'll tell people, watch my channel, and you can learn a lot of stuff. So I'm not 100% sure as to alternatives for stone or rock wool for people with asthma and pets for room treatment. But I would say look up allergy-free acoustic treatment, stuff like that, and see what you have. And I'm pretty sure that the green options and the ones that are allergy-free and stuff like that, there are versions like that. I think they're made out of like textiles or rags or something like that, if memory serves, at least the one that I found. So I'm not 100% sure. But yeah. We'll be doing a friendly live redirect push to you soon. Okay. The doctor is in. Yay. It worked. Okay. Cool. What's your vids? Live redirect raid. Okay. You can do it at the end of your stream too. Live redirect is found under edit customization. I'm going to have to look at this. Edit? Where's edit? Oh, edit customization live redirect. Okay, cool. I like getting the word out there though. And Dr. Fu, if you're still in here, thank you very much for that. So you're live and had to bring the fun in. Discord. Oh, okay. So I guess you're going to be joining Discord. And Horse Taco is in the house here. Now, I've seen him commenting now that it's been 9 minutes. Oh, man, I just hear. Are we talking about the deity having a weird timecode system? Well, we'll see. I'm a big JB1 fan, so it's interesting hearing deity entered. I was even skeptical over the tentacle when they launched, but I've come to love most. Yes, as a matter of fact, there's some really cool products. The Betso stuff is really, really cool too. We used Betso stuff on Legacies. I'll tell you, the ability of that system, or any system that does this, and I think the deity is going to be able to also, to transceive timecode. You simply take a device, you plug it up to the timecode output on a timecode generator, and it will transmit that to any other timecode device. It will transmit it to the slates. It will transmit it to other sync boxes. It will then retransmit. That is a really cool thing, as opposed to using those old Sony. I forgot what they are, but the little Sony boxes that were like this big, as opposed to using all the options. I mean, all the other old school options that we used to use that were just a dumb clock. You'd have to jam every 3 hours because it would drift so much. Now the newer systems are quite cool. You just jam a little box and you put it somewhere close to set, and anytime they go off speed and they change back over, it connects back up to their time code, and instantly it's there again. It's awesome. It's cool you have credits on a bunch of really cool movies. What was your personal favorite to record on? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's talk about my past. Let me think. Might depend on like whether or not I had an interest in it. There were some cool things that I'll tell you, one thing about this industry is that you get to see and do some really cool things. Oh, here's a good one. Well, yeah. Jonathan Demi, the Academy Award-winning director of Silence of the Lambs. He came to Atlanta doing a pilot for a TV show starring the guy who played the governor in Walking Dead. I forgot his name. But he was the star in this pilot. And it was a really cool pilot about these 4 friends that go up in a private airplane and something happens and the airplane crashes. And 3 of the 4 guys are found scattered far and wide away from each other. Not like right at the airplane crash. One guy was, but the 2 others are scattered very far away. They're all alive, and they all have different things going on with them. The main guy who is from the wreckage, he has this like heightened sense of like, it's almost like a child. It's almost like a child in the sense of how you look at something and you're like, wow, that's a wrinkle, and look at the way that light affects it, and that's kind of cool how it has a little bit of a blue hue and how you just kind of notice things as a child. He was kind of like that. He didn't have fear. So at one point we shot in the federal building down in Atlanta. And when we got there, what's kind of a cool story about this is that we got to the federal building and we were told, and the security was very strict with us. They said, you will be going in through this door. You will walk down this hall. You will get onto this elevator, go to the top floor. Do not get off anywhere else. When you get there, you will walk down the hall and you will go up the stairs and you will be on the roof. You do not do anything else. Do you understand? And we were like, yes. And we went in there and we followed those exact directions, and they had security, and this is the federal building. They were just like watching us and not really paying any attention, to anything else except us. And when we got up there, and because what he basically does is this guy who has this heightened sense of just awareness of everything around him, kind of like a child, just kind of experience the sensation of things. And, he would hear an airplane and he would just look up and be like, wow, that's, it sounds really cool as it travels through the air. I just heard an air conditioner go on. But Jonathan Demi with us, he was like, I want sound to be something that motivates him. I want sound to be something that drives him. I want him to notice things based on sound. I want you to record sound of, if there's an interesting sound, I want you to put a microphone on it. If an air conditioner turns on, put a microphone on it. If an airplane goes over, I want to turn the cameras and look up at it. I want him to react to it. I want to hear that. I want to hear this and this and this. And because of sound, we were like, oh, this is cool. And we did some really cool things. We did at the very top, I used a Neumann KMR 82, I believe it is. It's a long shotgun microphone, very directional. And we went on top of this federal building, like 20, 30 stories up, whatever it happens to be. And the guy in the show, he walks across the gravel on the top of the roof, and then he steps up on the 2-foot ledge and just stands out looking over the city and traffic with no fear of anything, but the sensation and the wind and seeing traffic and everything below is just like, he freaks out. He's like, oh, this is so much sensory, overload. But what I was able to do in that was I cued the microphone hard off of traffic. I think it was like a Friday afternoon we were there. I cued the microphone hard off of traffic because we had a super techno crane looking straight down from above. And what they did is it tracked across him, and all you saw was his footsteps. And I was right up next to that crane. And so as we started to approach the ledge, I was going farther and farther off of that traffic. And as we got close, and then that camera, he got right up to the edge, and the camera then tilted up to reveal that he was stepping out onto the ledge overlooking the city. He was wearing a harness and stuff for safety-wise, obviously. And the actual stuntman did the one with the harness that stood up on the edge. We had a fake ledge built with a green screen on the floor in front of it, so he was standing up and had a 2-foot drop. But that was the way we did it with the actual actor. But what I was able to do is cue the microphone out to include the traffic and him, so you could hear him freaking out. You suddenly heard traffic, and when we watched it back, Jonathan was like, "Oh my gosh, this is brilliant! I love what you guys did." And a lot of that was the kind of stuff I was able to do. We used an MKH-50 indoors and outdoors many of the times, even when we were outdoors and there was a lot of sounds, because he would be eating strawberries and just eating it in the noisiest way possible because he was enjoying them. Just smack, smack, smack. And when he was doing that, I would have the 50 on him, and then he would look over there, and I would cue the microphone to still include him, but suddenly you're hearing what he's looking at, which would be a car driving by or a truck driving by. And then as he's eating the strawberries, he's looking around the other way, and then all of a sudden, and the camera would go around, and they would look at him doing something, looking the other way. And so I would cue the microphone back and look in that direction. There was a lot of those kinds of things. And to me, being able, having Jonathan was like, I really want sound to be that important. I want sound to be something that's really not like a character, but it is still at the same time. It's a driving force for a lot of his curiosity. And that to me was awesome. It was fascinating to see what Jonathan was able to do with that. And I loved every bit of that. That was a really cool show. There are cool shows also that I've worked on. The Marvel movies were really cool. Like, Infinity War, we did a lot of the motion capture stuff. So I came off of Walking Dead, where we had 5 cameras on the end of season 8 for some days. Some days, it was just 3. We split things off. Sometimes had 4, sometimes had 5, sometimes had 3. But that show is definitely very much not about sound. And then all of a sudden, I leave that show and instantly get hired by, they were having a hard time finding someone that was willing to be there and to sign on and could actually do it. I was part of the mocap unit, motion capture. And I went from Walking Dead, where they cared not about sound, and then I would be, doing everything I possibly could. It was never going to, be easy, because they were like, oh, we're just going to do a wide shot now. Why are you doing a wide shot now? Why didn't you do it before with the other wide shots? Well, it wasn't going to work as an angle then. Now it works. And so I would have to get out of there or play extra height or something like that. Which meant awkward angles and stuff like that. But then I went from that to the motion capture of Avengers Infinity War. Now, if you've never seen or are not familiar with the motion capture system, imagine many little cameras up on thin stands, a lot of them all over the place, and they're all programmed to see the motion capture suits that the actors are wearing. They do the lines, they perform, they do all the actions that they would have to as their character, but wearing the motion capture suit on the green screen background. And the camera operator is basically holding a camera, but it's basically just a viewfinder. It's not an actual camera. He's holding a viewfinder that shows him a resolution lower res than the final movie, obviously. But it's basically a viewfinder, and he's using it as if he was holding the camera. And he would modify his adjustments and stuff like that, and then could tweak it in the camera if they wanted to, or in post later, because it was all virtually captured off of all the different cameras. But one of the things they told me on that was, be wherever you want to. And I'm like, so if I put the microphone directly on top of their head, never see it, because it's not part of motion capture. Okay, what about me standing someplace? They're like, stand wherever you want to. And I'm like, so if I even wanted to walk in front of the camera, he's like, you're not walking in front of the camera. I'm motion capturing this. You can walk in front of me. You're not obscuring me, because I'm not looking at that. So do whatever you want to. I don't care. So I decided to test it after, a few hours. Maybe it was a couple of days. And I decided that I was booming. And as an actor did this, I was like, okay, I'm going to walk between the operator and the actors and see if anything is said. Nothing was said. So quite literally, I could stand next to the actors with the microphone directly here on top of their head, because it was being picked up by all these little motion capture cameras all over the place, and it never once was visible. I wasn't visible. I could stand directly in front of the camera or the camera operator, line of sight to the actor. Never once would get in the frame, because I was invisible to the motion capture. This is not the days of Polar Express, where if there was one little speck of dust on top of your microphone, it was going to be picked up and turned into something artificial, and it was going to mess something up. Wasn't that way at all. It was straight up awesome. And so I could be anywhere I wanted to. And being on Avengers Infinity War, after a while, they actually retained me. They said, we would like to hire you full time and keep you on call. So they said, and so I was being paid, I think $8 minimum every day, whether they wanted to use me or not. Most of the days they'd have me come in and we would do something. Some days I wasn't called in. Sometimes they would still, since I was on call, if they reserved the right to call me in. But then before I was brought in on call, I had Cobra Kai season 1 contacting me. And so I quite literally, that was my very best year ever. That was 2017. I started the year on Stranger Things season 2. I went to Walking Dead season 8 straight from that. Didn't finish Stranger Things season 2 because they kept going longer and longer, and they were originally supposed to finish in mid-April. Then they pushed later, then later, and it finally, I think, finished in either late June or early July. I think Winona Ryder had like broken her foot or hurt her foot or something like that. By then I was already on Walking Dead. I went on, I believe it was an Alaskan cruise, and upon returning, I launched my first video on Sound Speeds. So that was 2017. I finished Walking Dead season 8, and then I spent the last little bit of the year split between Cobra Kai season 1 and Avengers Infinity War. And I think I only worked on those I worked on one other show, and that was 1 week I had off. Stranger Things needed to give us a week off because they're like, all right, well, we actually need to figure out a few things with the script. The crew has one entire week off, and I was not going to tell anyone, but then Whit Norris found out. He was doing the movie Game Night, and his boom operator at the time, Doug, he had some sort of a health issue, and he needed to have someone cover him. And so I got called in, and because it was Whit, I'll do anything for him. I love him to death. But anyway, Whit called me, and I was like, sure, I'll come to work with you. So if you watch the movie Game Night, there's a sequence that happens in this house, and there's like a fight club going on. There's an egg sequence. I did all of that. Everything that happened in that house, I did, because we were there for an entire week. And I think I did all the car work. The scenes of them driving around in the car, and when they're all trying to figure out what to do and how. We did all that the first day I was there, and it was all car work, and I think I did all that. Because I watched the movie. I know I did the car work. I know the Fight Club house. So anyway, but that was, I think, my that year. I don't think I have any real complaints, and I think that was, as far as things go from me, I think that the show I had the most fun on. I didn't get paid the best rate to work with Jonathan Demi on that show called Line of Sight, that pilot, but I tell you, it was very rewarding. And to me, it was great. Jonathan was so appreciative of us every single day. He was just like, I love what you guys are doing. He really loved and respected sound. He was like, I really want to see it, like, do some, if you have more ideas, let's do them. And we're like, yes, I mean, he really just inspired. And I was really, really disappointed to hear a few years ago when he died. So, but at least I can say I worked with him, and that's great. So blabbed on quite a while about that. Yes, quote, but with an W. Okay, so it is wote. Okay. I just saw a video about green panel stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, fine. Not that one. Okay, that's probably the Booth Junkie one. Can inlink the video so you can skip and virtually identify if this stuff you're talking about, it looks very thin and rigid. Not sure if it works at all. Found a video guy making panel. Well, just send me an email. Send me an email and we'll go back and forth, because at this point, sorry, I've been talking 17 minutes and going back to that. 2-inch thickness, it seems, using track saw. Yeah, just shoot me an email and I'll look at it. I heard people using the filament and stuff, plushies, saw pellets and stuff, which is worse than rock wool. It seems to be, but is supposedly safe. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about, is that there's some companies that will say that they're making green stuff, that will make products. Whether they're effective or not, I can't speak to, because I haven't used those. I use the ones that are not considered safe or green because they're effective. I'd rather have effective and something that I can count on, because I will make it safe. I will definitely make it safe, because like what you see me do here. Before I brought the Owens Corning 703 into the house, what did I do? I had a seamstress build me out of muslin, which is one of the two materials that I know of. Muslin and burlap are the two materials that you can put on top of acoustic treatment, and it keeps it acoustically transparent. And so that way it still remains effective. You got to keep in mind that it's not just the treatment itself, it's what you put over it. So if you put a cotton blanket over it, it's going to take out some of the effectiveness of that acoustic treatment. The reason why is because the whole idea behind it is that the sound waves is acoustic energy. So Vibrations travel through the air, and those vibrations on the lows, mids, and high frequencies are being broken down by the different layers and whatever of the acoustic treatment. Then it hits a wall and it bounces back, and a lot of that energy is dissipated. So over the course of however many inches there, if it's straight against a wall, then it reflects off there and it doesn't really get broken apart. The same way as if you just give it an inch or two off of that. Usually sound stages will if they use this, what they'll do is they'll build a frame of usually a couple of inches, and they'll put against that, they'll build it off the wall, and then they'll put like the insole quilt over top of that. So there's a couple of inches behind it. So that way the acoustic, the insole quilt or the acoustic foam or whatever, or acoustic treatment that they're using will dissipate some of the sound. It bounces off the wall and it comes back through, and it's going to dissipate quite effectively. So regarding the green stuff, I've never really used it, but I do know that that's the idea behind acoustic treatment and how it breaks down the sound. So it actually breaks it down going through and coming back, and by then it's reduced a lot of those acoustic background stuff very effectively. Okay. Horse Taco, that's the most amazing part of, about the content industry. I'm relatively small-time cinematographer and super young one at that, but the memories I've made in 5 years blow me away. Yeah. I get it, Horse Taco, because it's really neat. I mean, you always hear about the whole family life on set because, you know, you're away from your own family for so long of the day, but then you turn around and then you end up kind of making friends with the people that you're with there all day long. And you kind of become a family in many ways. I mean, you're with these people longer than you are with your own family. So you kind of need to have some sort of a bond with them. And because you work in very weird scenarios, because you work in very tight, you'll be in a tight space with literally another person who you did not know until this show. You'll be pressed up against that person, you know, up against their back, against their chest, against their face. You'll be over them. I'll have people, you know, on Walking Dead, season 1, when Jim is bitten. I can't remember. He's laying down inside the RV. When we did that sequence, I think it was episode 105. So episode 5, Jim is like, you know, he's sweating like crazy, sweating profusely, and they put him in the back and they rehearse this inside this RV. Walking Dead was 3 film cameras. And so we were shooting. Jim had to lay down on this RV, but they insisted on putting 3 cameras in there. So what they said was that there's not going to be room for you, Mr. Sound Guy. And I'm like, I need to be in here to boom. And they're just like, all right, well, the only way it's going to work is if you want to get in that corner and make yourself small, because we have to put a camera operator here. We have to put a camera operator here, and they're both going to be looking that way. And then the first AC also has to sit there. And so the only way you could do it is if you're sitting back all the way and we sit on the edge of the seat. I'm like, let's do it. And the only place for my legs to be is out at a right angle. So I had to basically sit down, sit all the way against the back of that corner, put one leg all the way out against this wall, one leg all the way against this wall, and I had to get the boom and basically hold it vertical, you know, with me. I had a first AC sit literally in front of me right here. I had another camera operator sit right there, so I'm looking at the backs of 3 guys, shoulder to shoulder. One of them is a focus puller, but the other 2 are holding cameras, and these guys are like literally right here, and I'm barely able to see through their heads and stuff like that. When they called roll sound, I had to like go up with the pole because those 2 cameras were there, and then they opened up a window and had 1 camera shooting through there. So I'm trying to hold this boom at a really awkward angle like this, going up and over in order to boom. I know Jim when he was sitting down, and I was trying to cue back to get the guy, I think it was Rick, that came in to talk to him. But if you watch that scene, Rick walks in and he kind of has a conversation, and Jim is very quiet because he's been bitten by a walker. He's breathing heavy for most of the scene, but because it happened to be fairly quiet and there was a very small space that was basically being baffled by a bunch of humans, it sounded not bad, all things considered. And I think we were using the Shep CMIT 5U. Because that was Shirley Libby back in the day, who I just got through finishing doing Legacies with earlier this year. That was the first time I'd worked with her, though, is on Walking Dead Season 1 in 2009. So that's the first time I worked with her. But yeah, that was a pretty fun situation out there because I did not know them. And you will bond with people real quick when you are literally face to face. On Kill the Messenger, there was Kelly. Kelly was the dolly grip, big huge dude who's like 6 foot tall, buff, whatever. Old school guy. I mean, he's got credits back to the 80s. Now he's a camera operator. There was Julia. She was the first AC, and then there was who was the DP? His name is Michael, I believe. He was the DP on the pilot of Game of Thrones, and they reshot most of that, but he actually did the pilot of it. But anyway, because he was using a camera, and Julie was literally focus pulling on the side with the knob. She wasn't on a Preston, she wasn't remoting, she wasn't on a whip. She was just hand on the side of the camera, and she was doing this. There was her. There was focus pulling. There was the dolly grip, who was always right there also because the old school guy that would never leave his camera. And then there was the DP, who was the camera operator. Sean, that was his name, Sean Bobbitt, I believe. And if memory serves, I have to IMDb it now. But anyway, so there was all 4 of us, and there were some times that we would literally be crammed up against each other. I would have Kelly's back and shoulder blade and whatever else, and I would be coming up and over, and then Julie would be over here, and I'd be up and over her, and then they would be pressed in here because the camera operator was pressed in there, and we were all sharing the same 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot square space in the corner of the room. But that's the kind of bonding you'll do with people, and you're doing this stuff all day long. Doesn't matter if you'll be rained on. It'll be 100 degrees, it'll rain, and it'll still be hot and humid, and it's just going to turn into a sauna here in the South with 70% humidity, if not higher, and you're going to be all dying together, but you're going to shoot, and then at the end of the show, you're going to be like, oh man, what an experience, what a great, or you'll look at it and say, man, what a terrible show, but it's going to at least put food on the table, so woohoo, see you on the next one. Hopefully it's a good one. And that's the kind of thing that you'll end up doing. It's a lot of really weird, a lot of fun things that you never expect to say and do and experience, but that's the kind of thing that you'll run into on set. And you'll see some hilarious things, you'll see some scary things, you'll see some insanely crazy and funny things. You'll see things that you're like, they're never going to be able to edit this together. You watch the movie and you're like, wow, that was actually pretty good. And you'll watch some other stuff. You're like, oh, this is such a magical experience. You watch it in the show and you're like, gosh, they killed it in the edit. This is horrible. And you'll see all of that. So anyway, gotten to do some of the coolest stuff. Been super cool places. Met some awesome people. It's great. Yes, absolutely. TJ Linderbaugh on the 50 Outdoors. As far as I'm concerned, that's the way to fly. I am an absolute 100% supporter of the Leonard Ball. I think it is the best form of wind protection that can fit on a microphone if it's designed to fit that microphone. You have the 20 millimeter or 19 millimeter pencil condenser, then you're going to want to use the Leo 20. Even something like a DPA 4018, if you need to have a low profile version of that, you could. I've in the past put a little strip of duct tape, or not duct tape, what am I saying? Little piece of electrical tape around the DPA to fatten it up just enough to put that Leonard Ball on there, because to me, it is so much more effective. If you watch my video where I compared windscreens, people are always like, use the baseball, the right cut baseball. To me, I find it extremely ineffective. Very, very ineffective. When I first heard the baseball, and that's just my opinion, other people love it. I mean, somebody was just asking about wind protection online the other day, and people were saying, you get a baseball. Love my baseball. You know what? That's fine. Absolutely. Everybody's experiences are different. When I first I tried it, I remember having the microphone, and I didn't have any wind protection on that. And I gently spoke into it, and I heard myself popping the microphone. Then I put the baseball on there, same position, and I'm still hearing myself pop that microphone. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I missing here? That's me, though. It does, I'm sure, work very well for some people. To me, I'm not a fan. And that's a shame, because I like a lot of Rycote products, but the baseball is not one of them. Leonard Ball to me is absolutely solid as a rock. I love it. Okay, Woat. Were they using Vicon Dynamic XYZ on Infinity War? I have no idea what you mean. Sounds to me like, I mean, mocap virtual production is fun. Woad, if you're still there, tell me what you mean about that. Because if you're talking about video stuff, I don't know. More stories about your love of sound on cool projects, please. Okay. Let me think about it. Let me think of some that I can tell. There's a lot that I would love to, but a lot that I shouldn't. More stories about your love of sound on cool projects. Let me think. Some of the projects you work on, they're just, oh, wait a minute. The mock-up tracking system Vicon are two of the biggest providers. I don't know. If you're talking about visual stuff, I wouldn't remember those names. What's some of the worst conditions that you've boomed in? Let me start with that one then, Nathan, or Eric, if you don't mind. Worst conditions I've had to boom in? Let's see. Well, I mean, obviously rain sucks. There's been some days we've had torrential downpours. They brought out rainmakers and just blasted the set because you can't just put regular rain on the scene, because if you do, it's not going to show up. It's not, the raindrops aren't big enough. So they come out with rainmakers, which basically it looks like a spigot that's upside down, but what it does is it breaks the water apart into very big, thick clumps. So it's actually bigger and thicker water. And then what you do is you backlight it if you want it visible. If you front light it, the rain's not visible. So a lot of the times we'll be shooting in the rain. You won't know it because they're front lighting and they're very, very soft, like almost bouncing a backlight for a hair light or something like that. Because if they use any kind of a directional light, just like if you have a beam of light going through fog, like at a nightclub, it will show how that reveals, that's basically, showing it looking cloudy and you see the beam of light because it's hitting a particle and it's backlit. Same kind of thing happens if you backlight rain. You see the illumination of the raindrops because as a drop of rain is in the air, light hits it from behind. What happens is it spreads out on the inside, so that's how you illuminate rain. So I've been in scenes where the director has decided to follow the writer's script to a T, and they say when the scene there was a scene that we did on Kill the Messenger. It was written as like one of the actors drives up to this house. It's in a torrential downpour. Get out of the car, run up to the door, knock on the door, and hand somebody this thing, and they look at it. It's like a newspaper or something like that. That's the entire scene. The only thing about that, and it to me, it served no purpose that we decided to shoot it in this torrential downpour. But that was what was written, so we had to do it. There was on Walking Dead season 8. They shot that we had a sequence in a swamp. They had basically there's a lot of property they owned. AMC basically had ownership of for the Walking Dead, and this entire area there was like a big bowl, and it was like this. It was like this humongous space, and I don't remember what the dimensions of it were, but it was big. And what they decided to do is they lined it with a sheet of like mill plastic or something like that, if memory serves. And then they covered it over, and then they flooded the entire thing from the lake right next to us. They basically they pumped the water out of that into this area to flood this entire area to make it into basically a swamp. And then we had walkers and stuff in there, and so that was something I had to wear waders that was like up to here, up to my chest, and so we had to do that. It was. The waders were interesting. I never had something like that before because they are designed for you to keep your clothes dry. You put them on, it's up to here, and the rule basically is don't allow water into it, because if you allow water in, not only your clothes going to get wet, but you very well could get pulled in, because what happens is it starts to fill up with water, it gets heavy, it's going to make it difficult for you to get out. So, So, you're walking around and you're holding the boom up like this and your shoulders or whatever else. And it's a very interesting scenario. I have a couple pictures. If I can find them, what I'll do is I'll post them in my Discord if you want to see. I'll put them under. I'll put them someplace. You'll find them. But yeah, that was an interesting scenario. Let's see. There was a lot of things on Walking Dead that it would have been like raining earlier in that day, and they're like, yeah, it's cool. It's no. I mean, they didn't care. We'd shoot in the rain. They would not care. But it would be mud. It would be on the edge of a cliff, in a river, whatever else, and we would be slipping and sliding all over the place, shooting in a lake, shooting in a river, shooting in Georgia red clay, pools of water 2 or 3 inches deep. It was always crazy on that show. But you can't just shoot it inside, because on a zombie show, it's not exciting if you don't show zombies, and the only way you're going to see zombies is if you go outside. But now Walking Dead was an interesting show, because when the show first started, if you called them a zombie, they would say, these are not zombies. These are walkers. There's a difference. You do not call them zombies. And I didn't work on anything over at Walking Dead I worked on season 1 a bit. Boom operator had been bitten by a venomous snake and he went to the hospital, and I covered for him while he was out. That was episode 5. And then I came back to fill in a gap between boom operators 3 and 5 on season 2. They went through 11 boom operators because the sound mixer had a hard time keeping them and was very particular. And then Max started season 3. No, he was boom operator number 11. And then he stayed aboard from the end of season 2 through 3, 4, 5, and 6. Charles started, and actually Max, who was there for a lot of Walking Dead, he's one of the people that I did the stories from set videos from, and I have another like longer bunch of stories from him. But he told one about working on National Treasure 2. That's a story from set, but I'm going to be releasing the full one very soon, so you'll be able to see more from Max. He's got a lot of really cool stories because he's been pro sound since like the 80s, and he's got a lot of really good stories. But he was the boom operator there from late season 2 through season 6, and then Charles was there for the first 6 episodes and the first 2 days of episode 7 of season 7, and then I took over from there for the rest of season 7 and all of season 8. So that was how long I was there. And we were always doing crazy stuff over there on that show. That was very interesting. But those are some of the worst conditions I boomed in basically over there. Aside from the brutal humidity they'll have us in, we'll be shooting out there. I mean, they would literally on that show, they'd bring us in half-hour pre-call in the darkness. We would load up out of the trailer onto a stake bed. We'd go into the middle of the woods someplace. You couldn't see anything, offload gear, and then it would be extremely early in the morning. And the sun would start coming up as soon as we had enough light to expose film. And yes, it was film back then. They would start rolling. And then as soon as we lost the light at the end of the day, 14, 15 hours later, whatever it happened to be, they would say, okay, that's it. That's a wrap. And then we would have to pack up gear into the stake bed, get it out of there, and load it back into the trailer in the dark. So we would be there from the full day in the middle of the year, like right now, and it'd be a 15-hour day almost every single day. And that was Walking Dead for you. Very tough work because it's 100-degree weather almost every single day, high humidity, in grass that they did not groom because they wanted to have the tall grass. Anytime they would rent a location, they would say, do not cut the grass, call this number. Because there were people that during the early years of Walking Dead, they wanted their grass in their house to look nice. And they would, Walking Dead was coming to shoot in the neighborhood. Oh, we'll mow your lawn. We want our grass to look good. But then people are like, this is a zombie apocalypse. This is an apocalypse. People are not going to be out there doing their yard work. So don't do that, please. So it was okay early in the show because it was like, well, the walkers just start to take over and bite everybody and everything. But over the course of time, they're like, well, it's not really, it doesn't make any sense really anymore for people to be doing their yard work. So they would always say, don't mow this grass. And the grass would go out of control. It would be sometimes like almost waist high in some places. A tall grass, You'd step through that, there'd be bugs, you wouldn't see a fire ant's nest down there, and you'd step in it, and all of a sudden you'd be, ow, ow, ow. My legs, if you've ever seen some of my videos where you see me wearing shorts, because I wear shorts like year round, I'm one of those guys. But if you look at my legs, you'll see all these bite marks and all these places on that where I have been just devoured by everything from spiders to God knows what's in that grass. But I've been bitten by a lot of different things, and my legs look horrible because I would get scabs and stuff on there. And I'd use bug spray, and sure, I'd wear long pants sometimes, but they would just come right up underneath it. They didn't, no cares. And it was not easy. And of course, me being me, I don't just leave them alone. I'll scratch, and that makes it worse. And then I would get more. I would say, all right, I'm not going to touch this one because it started to look bad, and then I would let it heal. But then I'd get bugs biting it again, so it would turn out terrible. So anyway, the worst conditions I've been in. Basically, a lot of the ones I would run into on Walking Dead because they looked interesting on camera. It's awesome you worked on Walking Dead. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Glad to not be on that show anymore. How do you ensure that everything in your audio chain is gain staged correctly in order to minimize noise and achieve the best quality while having no audio analyzer like AP555 X is your software? No, not that we use. But here's what I will say. There is a list of videos I plan to make. And I can show you that if I go to the very, very top of the list, oops, let's not uncheck check a thing, because there is a video right there, the very top of the list, right there. You can see it right there, is gain staging. That's one of the next videos I'm going to do. Because, oops, uncheck that because I still haven't done that video. I will not be doing that one. I need to go through this. I probably won't be doing that one either. Some of these just they're no longer applicable because they might have been related to something and that's no longer a thing. It just really depends. But gain staging is something I'm going to do a video on soon. So, yeah, look forward to that one. And Kevin, Basic Filmmaker, shows up. 5 years, buddy. Yes, that's not 5 years from the channel because that actually passed about a month and a half ago. This is 5 years from my first upload, which would be technically, since it's now Saturday, it would technically be tomorrow. Would be the first, that would be 5-year anniversary of my first upload. Now, I actually released 2 videos that day, which is a video. There was the original Sound Channel intro, and then it was also in the same day I released a video called "This One Tip Could Save Your Movie" or something like that. And that's where I talk about the one thing that you need to know, and watch the video. Just go to my channel, sort by oldest, watch that video. You'll see the evolution of my channel. Back in those days, I was lighter, and I also talked a lot slower. I would record 3 episodes every Saturday night. I would usually edit because they were a lot shorter. I would edit one of them on Sunday. I would release it on Monday. I would sleep Monday night. And then I would, Tuesday, I would edit the next one, finalize it Wednesday, release it Thursday, sleep Thursday night, edit the video Friday night, finalize it Saturday after I'd record 3 more episodes, and then release on Sunday. And that was my routine, is I would shoot 3 episodes or 2 sometimes if because over the course of time, like if you shoot a video, then you would normally be a little bit of ahead. You have 9 days worth of content if you're releasing one video every 3 days. And so occasionally what I would do is I'd say, oh geez, I'm just going to do 2 because I actually have that, if I have 2 days worth of content and then I record 2 episodes, I would have 8 days left before I'd have to release all those. So I would say that would get me through next Saturday. So anyway, Kevin, when are you planning on uploading a new version of your ultimate green screen video tutorial covering usage of chroma minus filters? Love your channel. Plan, but still need to get my full ability to read back. I'll tell you this though, that video still does well. That video, I know it's like one of, if not the most watched video on your channel, Kevin. It's still a good one, and it still holds up. So there you go. It's a good one. We have 18 people watching, and the questions have literally stopped. What is going on here? Thanks for your great work. Appreciate the knowledge. Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Dave. So we are caught up current on all of the questions. And if we don't have any more questions in the next couple of minutes, then I'll go ahead and call the stream. I really appreciate everybody coming out here. Like I said at the very beginning of the stream, I just decided that what I needed to do is a live stream, because we happened to be in this morning at 10:30 a.m. I had a pre-call of half an hour, so I was there early, half an hour early. And then we spent an entire day exterior. And we were shooting down in Atlanta, and I'm not going to get political or anything like that, but y'all do know what decision was passed down today. And because of that, there were two different protests that were happening very close to our set. We had security up and stuff like that. AMC did tell us that if it became unsafe nearby, then they would have no hesitation to pull the plug, call wrap, and get us all home safely, because they were taking safety as a precaution. All the protesters were peaceful. They were loud, but all of our dialogue today was not. There was no dialogue. It was just people doing things and walking around and looking at things, and if they did anything, it was ad-lib. So that was our entire day, and so we had 3 helicopters circling us on set. We had protests over there, and we would hear them chanting and stuff in the helicopters and stuff. Do your worst. You know, we are not recording dialogue here, so I mean, it was fine. You know, by all means, use your voice if you want to protest. By all means, fly the helicopters right overhead, whatever. Anyway, that was what was going on today, and we got out of there just about 8 or so p.m., maybe a little bit after, and I got home, and that's that. So anyway, how do you make your cables? I'll be doing a video about that soon. As a matter of fact, I'll show you. Kevin, are you still in here? Because Kevin, if you are, I'm going to show a couple of things that you'll appreciate. If you are here, identify yourself, Kevin, because I will show a couple of things that are cool. I bought, okay. For that video, I decided I was like, you know what? I want to be able to record something, but I want to be able to record in like very close detail. So I said, I'm going to buy an endoscope. The resolution is not great because, you know, it's an endoscope. What it's designed to do is it's designed for you to put down a pipe or someplace and put it through a wall in a crawl space and see what's back there. But what I thought would be really cool to do is to set up my camera and then have an endoscope very, very close and be able to get good detail on that. It ended up being kind of low res. So I'm going to still end up using some of the footage. But then I decided, what is something better I could get? Oh, a microscope. So I bought a microscope. And it's still by no means high resolution. Let me lower the picture. But these are some of my tests. You see this picture right here? I mean, if I get it too close, guess what that is? That's an M&M. Let me scroll. This, you want to know what this is? This right here is a macadamia nut. That right there is the edge of a barbecue potato chip. So is that. This here, what is that? That's a piece of bread. That's a piece of bread. That's a piece of bread. That's the crust of a piece of bread. This here is 2 gummies. 2 Welch's gummies that are jammed together. This here is the serial number on the side of something. I zoomed in. Oh, this is grape. It's obviously Zip Fizz. There's a percentage. This is, I think, one of my daughters was petting the cat, and I went over there and took that as detail of the cat's fur. Let me see what else. oh, this right here is the seam of this ring. Right there. And so this is a hair. And because EMC's, this is also the hair. This is the broken end of a hair. Split end. That's a little bit of a hair. This, when you get really close like this, and I tell you, it was not easy to solder. But I did do the cables that I talked about earlier, that I have two 10-foot cables and two 8-foot cables left that I have available if anyone wants to buy. This is a shred of my carpet. And so what I did is, oh, and you want to have something that looks diseased? You zoom in on a fingernail, like the edge. This thing looks like I'm like decomposing and stuff. This looks terrible. But that's actually a close-up of a fingernail. And this is the point of a knife. Where is it? I was taking so many pictures. I was like, wow, this thing looks awesome. But yes, I use this, and I have some pictures of me soldering very small connectors. Let me see. Oops. I'll see if I can brighten this ever so slightly, and I'll see if I can show this on camera. This is two EMC connectors. This whole thing right there, that entire thing that's actually going off the camera there, off the side, that is an XLR board that's that big. These little receptors, that little tip right there, it's kind of hard for you to see, but the thing that has an arrow pointed to it, that is a 1/64th of an inch tip, soldering tip. And, oops, and that is me soldering an EMC connector. And I got video of that small. And I tell you, when it was, the thing was that big, and I'm like trying to look around in the most awkward way possible, because I also have a shotgun microphone literally on it. That's on it. I'm trying to bring up the cable and stuff, and it was not easy. And my form is going to look really bad, because there's some parts that it's going to, but because it's magnified like that, every little bitty motion you do is magnified like crazy on the screen. So it looks like you're clumsy. You know, something that's very tiny, and you're just trying to be very gentle and delicate and just barely touch it like that. When you magnify it like crazy, it looks like you're going, you know, like this, because it's ridiculously magnified. But that's the way that my soldering video is going to be. It's going to have some stuff that's far back. It's going to have some stuff that's very detailed and very small like that. There's some cool stuff in there. You see me quite literally take the tip of that soldering iron inside of one of the receptacles, and you see how I push the solder into it. And then you see me when I pull it out, you'll see it will freeze. You'll see the solder actually freeze all the way up, and then it changes color. And it's solder. It's cool. It's going to be cool. I need to piece it together. If I wasn't doing the live stream tonight, I was actually going to take that video, and I was going to start aligning the sound to it, because I tell you, it was very detailed. It was like, if this is like the connector, even though I was on the inside here, if this was like this, I was like trying to look around. There was the microscope thing there. There was a shotgun microphone like right here. The light was coming through, and I had to make sure that it was lit properly. And I'm sitting here like trying to watch and be very gentle and delicate, and trying to do everything in a fairly fast but yet very precise way. It's going to be an interesting video. I'm actually very looking forward to it. Now, just because you understand my technique, which you can watch my video on Little Nitro, because I do talk about everything in that video. And I'll post that one so that way you can see. You can watch this video. I'll post it in the chat. But you can. But I talk about things in that video, which is me eating the world's hottest gummy bear, and then decided to solder a cable at the same time. So it was not an easy video to do, but me being crazy, I decided I was going to do that, and it was going to be great. So I did it. And I talked about everything I could, but my brain literally shut down because it was so intense. And I was just like, struggling my way through it. You'll watch it. It's actually a really funny video. I watched it not long ago, and I was just watching myself suffer, and I'm like, yes, I remember that. It was funny. Anyway, when starting out as a boom op, is it common to have a mentor? If you're lucky. It's very difficult for you to find mentors. Many people who work long hours don't want to do anything else after their offset. They don't want to be bothered with anything. And if you can find someone to train you on set, cool. But if you can't, then it's going to be more difficult. People are going to be like, they'll be looking at this. They'll be looking at it as how can I break into the film industry? It's getting more and more difficult, but at the same time, it's not, depending on the way you come in. So it's kind of weird because some people are very inexperienced, and they're horrible by the time they get on set. Some people have been working their butts off, and they barely ever get on set. And then it takes them sometimes years too, depending on the market they're in, before they can finally get on set enough to get their days in order to become union or to get calls and make contacts and things like that. It just really depends on you. It depends on your market, depends on your opportunities. There's a whole lot of factors to it. But sometimes what you can have, like there's some people that, I mean, Andrew was even in here a while ago. He sent me a video of him trying to do some things on his for his voiceover. He was having some issues. I helped him with that, and then we went back and forth a bunch of times. And then he said that he would like to consider me as mentor, and it's cool. I mean, I'm more than happy to help with that process. And there's a lot of people that I do mentor. A lot of people over the years that I've trained and stuff in person. There's a lot of people that I've talked to. But I mean, it really depends. There's a whole lot of. I know you, Steve. That's fine. I know your wording, and plus it's on the screen regardless. The way I'm doing the chat is a really terrible way because it's live. I mean, it could be a lot better. I'm me. What can I say? But yeah, I've mentored people. I've trained people on set. I've had shadows and that kind of thing. But it's not really common, especially post-COVID. Post-COVID is extremely rare. There's certain channels you have to go through anyway, because normally guests are not allowed on set anyway post-COVID, because in order to be on set, you have to be in cadence. There's insurance concerns. There's health and safety concerns. There's a whole bunch of different factors. And so you have to have clearance through something like the Georgia Film Academy or through the union or both, or just a whole bunch of different things. And then you have to get in cadence. Then you have to come to set. And if you're with the Georgia Film Academy as an intern, you have to be paid, but you can't be doing a union job, because then you would have to be union rates. But since you're an intern, you can't be doing that, and you're not qualified to do it. So who would want to hire you? There's a whole bunch of different factors into it. So yes, I've been a mentor. There's been some people that I've never worked on a set with that I've still mentored. They would be having some issues, and they'd say, send me a text. Can you call me after work? Because I'm like feeling like terrible. I don't know if I can still do this. And I would talk to them. I'm like, yeah, you just had a rough day. Or I'd talk to them and say, I see where you're going from, but he was being a jerk. You're not in the wrong. And so there were some people that I would talk to daily like that for sometimes weeks, months on end. There's still people I mentor, and I talk to a lot of people. So yes, I do mentor people. Is it usually something to have, that you get the opportunity to have a mentor? Not always. I was lucky, to a certain degree. When the market here in Atlanta was young, I needed a mentor because I was very green. I would make a lot of people mad as I would get on set. I would make a whole bunch of mistakes, but there was no one there to teach me. Sound utilities were not something that we had on every single show here in Atlanta at the time, because we were a very young market. And so there weren't even utilities that were coming up through the ranks that I could learn a lot from that might have been done other shows. And many shows were a two-man thing back then, because Our shows were not very big at the time. And so I would be like part of a 2-man team. And it was not easy. Because the sound mixer would do what they could to teach me, but if they didn't boom that much, then they're telling me to do stuff, and then it was not working out. Not the best advice I could get when I got on set. And there was one guy who was actually the guy that I mentioned I covered on a game night with Wit. His name was Doug Cameron. He was a mentor to me, and I would send him a message and ask him his thought. I tried not to bother him and pester him, but I would ask him a question, and sometimes it would take him a day or two, but he would respond to me. Sometimes he would respond in great detail. Sometimes he would respond to me just in a few simple words. There were a few times he would say, "Let's talk on the phone. Can you call me?" And I would call him, and we would talk for a good hour or two. And he would just give me a lot of information because he didn't really do the whole, he was very much, you work on set, and afterwards he's a family guy. He didn't participate in a lot of other things outside of his family unless it was work related. But there's a lot that can be said for that. He passed earlier this year. And I tell you, one of the things to me that meant a whole lot to me was over the years we had gone from him mentoring and answering my questions, and when I was concerned about something, I would bring something up and we would talk about things, to I would tell him tips and tricks, and as I started sound speeds, I would talk to him, and I would get some insider information about something, and I was asked not to spread the information far and wide like on my channel, but I could tell people. I would call him up or I would text him and I'd say, "Guess what I learned? Check this out. This is coming," or something like that. And I remember one of the last things he texted me was, what is it? What is his wording? It was like, "You're a credit to your craft," or something like that. "You've mastered your craft," or something like that. What was it? And I remember seeing those words. Gotta find it. "You're a credit to your craft, sir." Seeing that meant a lot to me. And I need to, since he passed earlier this year, I need to go through it. I need to just take all of the entire, history of our chat. I need to just take it all and I need to archive it all, because he's gone. But he was someone that when no one else would give me the time of day, some people would just, roll their eyes and mock me and say, "Geez, you need to get more experience. I'm not going to bother wasting my time. You need to work your way up. You need to do this. You need to do that. I'm not going to bother answering that." Or they just look at me and be like, he wouldn't. He would actually give me the time of day. He would actually answer my questions. And I tried not to bother him because I don't want to just pester him. But he was one of those people who, he was a family guy, but if his family was doing something, he would turn around and he would respond to me, because he would remember that I asked him a question, and it'd take him, like I said, a couple of days sometimes, but he would say, "You know what, I'm going to respond to Alan," and he and I would go back and forth, or we would talk on the phone. But he was one of the few people that actually answered my questions. And because of that, I got information that I found very key. And because that he gave me the time of day when no one else would, once I got to the point where I had kind of gotten through the beginning stuff and learned the beginning stuff, and I had moved on to kind of an intermediate level, I started teaching the basics to people that were starting off, that didn't know what they didn't know, that were trying to learn. And I was like, I don't have decades or whatever, years and years of experience, but I have a few years, and I can teach you some of the basics. That way you're not going to step on set and have to relearn everything the hard way that I did, be mocked and everything else, and make a lot of people mad. And, so I started teaching the basics. When I felt like had gotten to more of an advanced level, I started teaching the intermediate stuff. And when a sound mixer who's been a mixer now for a few decades told me, you've mastered your craft, that's when I said, I'm going to teach the advanced stuff. And after I've been doing that for a few years, that's when I started Sound Speeds. That's when I felt like the information I had, it was ready. It was ready. It was polished enough from teaching classes. I can't teach everything on YouTube the way I would in real life, because you just cannot get away with some of the stuff. It's also better on in real life, because you actually have in real life you have the ability to be hands-on. It's funny, the last class I did before the shutdown of 2020 was a class we had like a snowstorm in the South. And I remember that I had a class lined up with 2 actresses coming in, and we had a bunch of people, and I was doing a boom technique class. And what I was doing is I was going to be doing this, but one of my actresses got stuck in North Carolina. She got snowed in, wasn't able to come down. And so I did this with one of our actresses, and we practiced stands up and sitting down and standing up. And then we practiced like walking across over here and tracking and handoffs and all these different techniques. And then, I don't even remember how it happened, but there was a couple of things that I ended up showing technique wise, where I would be face to face with someone. I'm like, all right, hold it this way, hold it more delicate, hold it. You feel the balance in this, feel how it's on this hand this way, and feel how it's on this hand this way. Your wrist is really contorted and twisted. That's going to hurt you over the course of time. It's going to create carpal tunnel. It's going to make and I started going through all these different things with them. And after a while, it was really funny, because I was like, bend your knees, be more graceful. And there's some videos that people took, and then they sent it to me. And it was funny because a couple of those were posted online. And people were like, oh yeah, Alan had to dance with every person in his class. And it was really funny, because you watch it and it literally looks like I'm face to face with another person, and they would hold the pole, and then I'd hold it wider. I'm like, go with me, move with me. And it was very much like dancing, I guess you could say, where I was like leading. I'm sorry, feel how this movement happens, feel how this moves this way. And you can't do that on YouTube. Another class that I taught in real life that you cannot do on YouTube, because it would be totally bad, was the wireless class. What I did is, as you know, you don't go into people's clothing and you're laving them up and you're wiring them unless you follow certain etiquette protocols and that kind of thing. And there's certain conditions. But in the class, one of the things I did was I talked about the contours and the curves of the human body. How on men it's a certain way, on women it's a certain way, and how things are different and how things are similar. And one of the things I did in that wiring class is I point blank, I said, I need, I think I brought in like 2 male models, 2 female models. And I had it prearranged with one of the males and one of the females to have the male at one point take off his shirt so that we could talk about the ways you tape, how you tape, where you can get away with hiding the cable, how you have to hide the cable, and stuff like that. And we did the same thing with a woman. Now, I said you could wear a sports bra, or you can wear a bathing suit or something like that. You don't, obviously not topless, but we were like, I want to have something that we can still see, how things would go around, like where you need to tuck something under a bra, how something would be mounted to on the side, because I can't just say, well, put this under your shirt this way, because then you don't see how it's mounted. You don't see the proper way things have to be. I can't do that class on YouTube. If I did that, all my comments would be like, man, she's, the stuff you don't want to hear, the stuff that's not proper. It's not etiquette. We are very strict and very professional about the way that we handle wiring. It is a trust between an actor and us when we get into their personal space like that. It's not a joke. It's not something we just laugh and joke off. It's nothing that we will, we don't exercise the thoughts when people, when we're mocked or something like that. Oh, there goes that sound person with his hands up a girl's shirt again. We don't laugh at that. We don't joke about that. That's something we take very seriously about, because we're in their personal space. We're not over there listening to their lives as they're telling stories, which people always say, well, you can just listen to them whenever you want. We don't do that. That's an invasion of privacy. If we did that, then they would not trust us anymore. No team I'm part of do we spy on actors. If they're on set, it's fair game. because they are on set. We're about to roll. We're going to check their lavs, make sure everything is working right, checking our microphones. But if they're offset, we don't listen to them unless we are spot checking them or wiring them. And then in that case, then we would have one of our the sound utility would go over there. Can I listen to your lav for a second? Because let me listen to something because we needed to make an adjustment at the end of the previous take. Let me just make the adjustment now. Or let's change out, or we're going to make a change to the battery and let's make sure it still works. Does it still sound good? Or the actor says, well, I'm done with this scene. I'm going to go change wardrobe. And then I come back. Well, let's check your wire and walk over there. Let's bring up the wire. Let's listen to it. Okay, yeah, you still sound good. Something like that. We're checking the lav. They're aware that we're checking the lav. We don't just sit there and spy on them and listen to them. That is a big, humongous law, a big no-no that you do not do. We take it very seriously. And that is not a class I could teach on YouTube because it would be the wrong people making comments, and it would really, really anger me fiercely to see people not show the proper respect. What leak boom do you usually? How far back am I in these comments? Like a half an hour. Sorry, guys. Okay. This one right here. This comment is the one I'm going to next. Oh, no, actually, it's this one here, Greg. What length of boom do you typically use? I usually use a 12-footer or 11-foot. It's usually an ambient QSM. Currently, I'm testing I'm using on this show a Panoramic Maxi. And I'm going to be using it the entire show. We finished the show in August. And I've been making a lot of notes about my thoughts and opinions. And I don't think this is going to be as long of a review as like the K-Tech one was, as long as the Really Right Stuff one, as long as the ambient one was, because this poll is much more simple. And it makes me smile just thinking about it because I think it could be simplified very easily. And it's not just me trying to avoid getting out of doing a long review. Not at all. I think that this poll could be very simple, simplified and put into a very easy way, worded very easily. Because I looked at it and I was like, what I always do is I experiment with a boom and I say, what does this poll feel like? What does this poll say to me it needs? There's going to be a new test that I've done to this that you've never probably ever thought about doing with a boom poll before. I'm not going to say now because someone's going to steal the idea, but there's a test that I came up with. I really like the idea. I think it's going to work great. And I'm going to do it on this poll. And I think you're going to see some really cool results. And I think it's going to be a really good review because I've already been taking some good notes and I'm pretty excited about it. But I still have a lot more testing to do of it. Because part of using a boom isn't just using it for a couple of days. Like that's one of the things that really irritates me about a lot of people on YouTube. They're like, oh, wow, look, I got this microphone. I'm going to use it for an hour and a half and to do a video about it. And then I'll never use it again. But at least I was given this $1,000 microphone. Isn't that a great review? I don't do reviews that way. I use things for a long time. Bandrew uses things for a long time. I know Curtis will use things for a long time. I know Mike Delgadio will use things. A lot of people will use things more than just an hour and a half before they decide to do a video about it, but then not always. When it comes into a boom poll, I know that there is a break-in period that happens on many booms. After a while, when you first get it, just like on anything you buy that's brand new, it's tight, it's got perfection all over it, and it takes a while to wear in, and once it starts to wear in and gets normal use out of it, how does it still hold up then? Does it fall apart? What is falling apart? If so, was it user error or was it a problem with the actual product? Can you fix it? What does it take to fix it if there's an issue? What are the workarounds? What does the company say when you contact them? There's a lot of factors, a lot of things that go into it. So anyway, I'm going to be using the Panoramic Maxi for the entire season 1 of Damascus, which is the show I'm on right now. It's an AMC show. But to answer your question, usually probably about 90% of the time, maybe 95 to 98% of the time indoors, I will be using an ambient QSM, which is about 11 to 12 foot boom. And then I'll also have like a 17 to 18 foot pole. And that's the one I'll use strictly exterior. Strictly exterior. And whenever I need more length inside. And that's usually exterior. It's all 100% of the time. Well, 99.9% of the time. Very seldomly will I do another pole outside, a shorter one. Indoors, though, I will use a shorter pole almost all the time, unless I need the length. Outdoors, I will always use the longer pole unless I absolutely need to. Okay. So, would you be able to add SoundSpeed's sports polio to the merch store? Would love to wear that. The next short I will work on. Sure. I have to figure out how to do that. I don't ever go to, what is it, Teespring? Sports polio. I think I even set up the store wrong. Somebody ended up telling me that like all of my every single thing I have, like from the, I just basically went through and said, yeah, sure, get the t-shirt, get the button up, get the everything. But I think if you look underneath this video, it'll have a link to my Teespring store. I'm pretty sure there's something under there that's a sports polio. I'm pretty sure there is some of those down there. I don't mark them up. I think I'm because some of them I think it's like, $11.92, and I'll mark up to like 95 cents or the nearest dollar or something like that. I won't go higher than to round it up to the nearest quarter. So if my price is like, if they say to me, oh, your price is going to be $12.61, I'll mark it up to $12.75. But that's it. The way I look at it is if somebody actually wants to buy a shirt with my label on it, by all means promote me. Because it is, like I said before at the beginning of the stream, this is my brand. SoundSpeeds is my brand. I have 2 trademarks on it. So, and those are registered with the USPTO, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So, something I have to maintain. But I think my store is so jacked up in the way it's listed. I think it lists everything as a t-shirt. I think it's all listed under shirts or something. Somebody told me at one point, why does everything in your store come up as shirts? I'm like, does it? And then I clicked on it. It's like shirts. And then underneath it was towels. And there was a tapestry. And I was like, oh, I guess so. I look at it and I'm like, look, on the YouTube thing, it shows up and it shows pictures of things. Scroll through it. If you see something you like, click on the link. But I mean, I remember at one point, somebody posted online, they were talking about boom caddies, and someone posted a picture of their boom caddy and it had a SoundSpeed sticker on it. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's a SoundSpeed sticker doing on there? He says, I bought it. I'm like, where'd you buy it from? He says, your store. I'm like, oh, you did? I didn't even know that he had bought it. I was like, oh, let me send you some. I'll send you some different stickers. Because I was like, where'd you buy that? He's like, from your store. I'm like, my store? I didn't know that that anybody bought anything off the store. I think it told me at some point that I think there's been a total of like 20 or 30 things sold. And I think that out of all my commission, I think it says like, give us your bank information because we owe you money. And then I brought it up. It was like $2.02. And I remember looking at it and says, I sold like 20 to 30 items and it's $2.02 because I don't mark it up. I'm like, I'm not going to bother going in there and getting my bank information for $2.02. And then I was like, well, I'm not doing this for the money. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, YouTube is a money sink because I spend so much money on my videos, buying so many things and doing so many things. My old background, that Audimute blankets and the insole quilts that cost almost $300 to ship from California. I did a per cost breakdown of how much that background cost me because I only lived in that house after redoing that background. I lived in the house for like less than 2 years after that. And because of that, I think it was a total of like, what was it? I did the math recently. It was like 12, 13, something like that, dollars per video is what that background cost me. Something like that, which is the reason I forgot what it was. I did the math and I think I talked about it in my new studio upgrade video, but this background here is one that I can take down. I can move to another location. The only thing I don't like about this is that seam right there. If there was a way for me to take that seam and for me to reduce it, but then it's not overly noticeable because right now, if I sit up a little bit taller, I'm blocking it. Granted, it's still back there, you know? But I mean, you'll see that this chair, I've now got a gray. I mean, this is totally different than it was before. When I first started the channel, it was gray in the background. And I wore a black shirt like almost every single time. And then my last background was all black. And then my daughters make fun of me for having terrible video quality. But this was it's gray and the background's gray, so that way I'll stand out better against it, and it's not going to be maximum contrast. My shirt's black, but at least it stands out. You can at least see it against the background here. Oh, should I start messing with the lighting? Sure, let's do that. Now it's gonna drive everybody crazy. But anyway, the camera settings are the way they're gonna be. Anyway. But if there is no polo there, Fallout in 3, if there is no polo on the merch store, I'll try to remember to go and check that afterwards. When you're starting as a boom up, is it coming to have a mentor? I already answered that. Ways to ambience match different mics during live dynamic condenser EQ reverb filters. Isotope. It's going to be your best bet. Become familiar with Isotope, and that's going to be your best way. I think some people use software that is able to, you're able to scan. If you scan two microphones, it's able to EQ match one to the other. The thing is, though, the same thing is you can't buy a cheap microphone and EQ it to sound like a premium microphone. There's a quality difference. There's a detail difference. That's the reason why I have a video out there called the mic spec we want but will never get. And it's about detail, because detail is not something they're ever going to put to a specification, because how are you going to, what is it? Is it more of a digital type sharp sound, or is it more of a warm tone? Which one's right? Which one is a better spec? If they were to put a spec to it, how would you properly do that? Because someone's going to say, oh, well, look at that. You like that pure digital sound. I like it to be more warm sounding. So I would say I would want more to be a 7, but then a 7 is really low, and you would never turn out right. Someone that likes the crispness and detail of a digital sound, they're going to say, man, that I don't like the warm stuff. The warm stuff doesn't sound right. No, it's got to be a 10 in digital. Otherwise, but then they may say, oh, no, if it has good warmth to it, it sounds more human. Therefore, that's a 10. And the digital sound is like 8 or something. Who knows? So there's not going to be a good way to put it. But yeah, there's different softwares you can get to match a dynamic to a condenser or two microphones and make them EQ to each other. But it's never going to be perfect. I know Julian Krause has a video where he EQs an SM58 to supposedly sound like an SM7B. To me, they still sound very different. It's not about frequency response. If it was, then all microphones would sound the same if it had the same frequency response. But there's every other spec matters. And even then, those specs are measured usually at a distance of about 1 meter away. And as soon as you bring it closer, it's going to have different characteristics. So to me, frequency response is part of it. But the details, that's the reason why on the Mina video, I just released this last Monday, that Mina video, that's why when I was listening to it, I was listening for the frequency response, because the M7506 Mina IEM and the MDR 7506 headphones, they had to be, because Mina credits itself and considers itself a mimic. In order to mimic, that means you have to copy, and therefore they're going for an ideal, a match of the frequency response, a match of the headphones. In order to do that, it has to match frequency response bodies. That's the reason why I said I believe the Minas actually have better detail than the 7506s. Part of that may be because it's inside the ear canal. Part of it may be just the better components that I would probably assume that were on the inside the IEM than on the 7506s. Because to me, they do sound better. So anyway. They still are a match frequency wise, but I think that they actually do sound better than 7506s. How about an iPhone in macro mode? I don't use an iPhone. iPhone macro is 3x only optical. Best way is to drop 4 to 10K on a macro super zoom. Nope, not about to do that. Hey John. I don't know if you're still here, but hello. I'm finally seeing this now. 32 minutes late. Sorry. That's one of the reasons why I'm so terrible about chat. I'll sit there and just blab away, and someone could have said anything. And I'd be like, oh man, that was extremely offensive. And someone said it like half an hour ago. That's terrible. Alan, SoundSpeed's cable saved my audio when nothing else would. Worth 10 times the price. Aw. Thank you, Kevin. I know you're not here anymore. I had the hardest time actually fit the shield while making EMC connectors. Starting was the easiest part. Yep. It takes a while to really dial in on your procedure. But yeah, EMC connector cables are harder to make than regular ones. Thank you, Alan, for making the previous videos showing your technique. Oh, and those were actually not great. That was the one with the gummy bear. My nerves were shaking, if you noticed. And in the 10-minute video where I did was a montage, I just made an XLR quick and easy. I didn't make it with all the really detailed all the little tricks. And when I make my XLR video on how I make them, I'm sure there's going to be some people that say, why do you do that? That's not necessary. You shouldn't do that. Well, here's the thing. There are many of the things that I've started to do over the years because it became an issue. Because I would have done it a different way originally and then said, this isn't working for me. What's the fix for it? And then I would have found a fix for it and say, seems like overkill, but you know what? If it works, it works. So that's part of it. And then I posted the link. Steve, yes, there's a proper way to mentor. Bugging the show is not one of them. That's correct. Being called away. Talk to you later, my friend. Yes. 479 doesn't have a mentorship program. They do through Georgia Film Academy. That's about it. They do have an education program that is the envy of the world, though. And I basically, with exception of this year, I've done most of their sound classes that they've done for almost 10 years now. Robert Maxfield taught one, I think about 7, 8 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. Witt used to teach a bunch of utility classes. This year there's been a few classes, but I was teaching a lot of them until COVID. During the shutdown, I wasn't able to teach. After the shutdown, we would do private sound events. We would have like the mixer there. We would have other education events, and people wouldn't wear masks. But when I went in there to try to teach a class, and they're like, you got to mask up. I'm like, I'm going to be like 10 feet away from everybody. Got to mask up. I said, all right, I'll try it. But I tell you, it really irritated me talking nonstop for 5 hours to a class wearing a mask. And I was like, you know what? If that's what it's going to be like, I'm not going to teach for a bit. Once this whole COVID thing is over, I'll go back to my regular schedule teaching. Until then, you'll see me on SoundSpeeds. I know it's probably a childish way to do it, especially since there's a lot of people that would really love that information, but I'm so irritated right now with having to deal with these masks in teaching in the real world that I'm just not going to deal with it. I'll teach on SoundSpeeds, and that's what I'll do. Because I can go and teach other places. I could teach my own private events, but I'm not going to do the union training right now if they require me to wear a mask. And I know that's not a nice, that's a childish way to look at it. That's a whatever. But to me, when I'm up there, I already yell a lot on set. Yell sound speeds a whole lot. I'm talking to people about the shot. I'm doing a lot of different things. And on the weekend, I'm just trying to recover. And if recovering means I have to wear a mask for 5 or 6 hours of that time talking nonstop when I'm trying to rest my voice, no way. It kicks my butt, so I'm not going to do it. Sorry. I'll teach on SoundSpeeds in the meantime. People can learn here. Sounds like he was a great guy. Talking about Doug. Yes, he was. I just came here to comment, support, and then go back to sleep. Good luck for you. Comment. Sorry for leaving too early. BMH. He was here 25 minutes ago. Sorry about that. But thank you for coming in, BMH. Rick on mic. Just joining. I've been a follower for a while. Thanks. Thanks for always sharing your knowledge you can on YouTube. Absolutely. Well, you bet. My bet the test is, how many parts can you actually remove from the pole while keeping it silent is useful? Well, that's an interesting idea and concept, but I'm not about to cannibalize boom poles in order to. I will show this. It is so hilarious. 1, 2, 3. Actually, you can see all but 3 of the boom poles. Like when I do a pan on my new studio upgrade video, I do a pan, and as I pan through here, you can see on the back, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 boom poles. One other thing that's for a video that I started like a year or 2 ago and have not done. And then there's actually now 3 more boom poles. So there's a total of 11 boom poles literally right there. It's hilarious. Just have so many booms. 18 total now. I have 1, 2, 3 or 4 on set. I think there's 3 on set right now. And then I have some in storage, and I have some on that wall. Just so many booms. It's crazy. But I loan some of them out, and I'll let people use them and try them out, see if they like them. So anyway, I don't even know how we're doing on our time. What are we doing here? Live streaming. There's 19 people in here. 19 likes. There's 18 people watching, 19 likes. Cool. So that means that people have been watching. Yeah, I think we've hit a total at a couple of different points. We've hit a total of 20 people in this live stream. We've not had any more than that. So the lowest we've had since starting, and after the first few minutes, we've had 10. We dropped down to as low as 8 very briefly and then bounced right back up. So we've had usually around almost 15 to 20 people this entire stream. So that's kind of cool. We are current on chat though. And I tell you what, I am very, very pleased. Why? Thank you very much. Dumble score. To me, YouTube is one of those things where it's very interesting. I originally started the channel to supplement my teaching in real life. So that way I could teach in real life and say, I'll use the channel to actually educate people in stuff that I didn't want to have to keep on saying over and over again. Or if it was something that should be taught a certain way, like showing a certain technique that you should do outside and the classes are taking place inside, do a video real quick, because it would be so much easier to do a 3-minute video and talk about something and cover it with inserts and stuff like that, as opposed to saying, all right, let's everybody go outside. I want to show you some things out in the sun. And then let's now move back inside and lose a couple people because they want to stand outside and smoke, or they want to go to the restroom before we go back into the class, something like that. It's so much easier for me to just do a quick video and say, and then there's this, and then play. And then you watch a video. But over the course of time, it's really neat how the channel's kind of evolved in some ways. It's become, I've even grown. It's kind of interesting. It just, not just me as a person, but in my presentation style. That's changed. I don't want to say I'm more grumpy, but I kind of come across that way sometimes because I'm very particular about things. And I think sometimes people troll me and because they know how I'll respond to something. And I think that they'll troll me and joke with me about certain things just because they can, just to watch me. But yes, impassionate is a word that could be used. Because, like, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that sometimes I'll post pictures about getting frustrated. Just, I think it was yesterday, I posted, no, it was Tuesday, it was Monday. No, it was Wednesday. One of these days. I posted a picture, it was Wednesday, so we were going on location Thursday, of me taking a picture of a cable that someone else wrapped. I know our sound utility is someone I trained about 8 years ago. He knows how to properly wrap a cable. I know the way the sound mixer wraps a cable, and I never let him do it. And me and the utility both take cables away from him if he touches them. We tell him, don't you do that, and we scold him for trying to wrap a cable because we don't want him doing it. He'll wrap it the wrong way. So I'm pretty sure that the person that wrapped this one cable that turned into spaghetti when I went to wrap it again was a boom operator they were using while I was on other shows. If the cable were done a little bit worse, I probably would have been demanding to know who they've been using as a boom operator and probably wanting to see recent call sheets because I know where they keep them. They keep them all in a book and say, you tell me who this boom operator is. Because I'm going to send them the cable wrangling video and humiliate them. I mean, it's like, because I tell you, the biggest reason why you all wrap the cable the same way in the team is because you want to have consistency. If I pick up a cable and I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it looks right. And I start coiling it only to find out that the person before me did not wrap it or did not manage their ends or did something dumb to it, then that will trigger me really quickly and I'll get really frustrated by it. So yeah, there's that. But over the course of time, just from teaching, part of me, I thought about doing at one point a live stream talking about some of my underwatch videos. There's still some videos on my channel that only have 200 and some odd views. They're early videos and they're good. There's some good content on there, but it only has like a couple hundred views and it'll never be searchable because at the time I had no idea of how in the world to use tags. I had no idea how comments worked or how the description should be worked. And do I want to go back and redo it? No, not at all. And so I'll just refer back to it if someone says, oh, well, how do you do this or this? I'll watch this video because I'll remember where it is or what it is usually decently. I mean, there's probably about a 95% chance I'll remember something if I think about it for a moment, like the early vintage video I was talking about earlier in the stream about sensitivity on old school microphones. That's something that takes a while to understand. You got a genius idea on how to force people to watch all of your videos. If you want to find some specific video about some technique or advice, there is no way you can find the words you find you say in the video are not found in the title or in the description. Yeah, I just have to basically remember them. Yeah. But it's like, Todd Weaver, why are you drinking water when Zip Fizz will do it? Well, look, I'm drinking out of my Zip Fizz cup. I mean, doesn't that kind of count? And Todd, since you happen to be here, tell me, have y'all finished with the Mina? Because as soon as I was day playing with Todd a week ago today, and I left the Mina there so that they could use it this week. Because if you're done with it, I'd like to get it back because I'd like to use it some. If you're not done with it, then let me know. But I'm curious if you're done with it, because if so, I want it back. I have no experience with shotgun mics. I'm a voice actor, but I'd like to try a shotgun for home videos and maybe Zoom. Would the Audio-Technica AT875R be a good starting point? Yes, absolutely it would. It has a really good tone to it, and a lot of people really like it as a shotgun microphone. What I will say is, I am not a huge fan of using shotgun microphones inside of a studio. I'm not a fan of using it as a voiceover and for voiceover. So I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people like to have it a little farther away, or they want to just have it dial it on your mouth. But absolutely, the AT875R, I've heard a lot of people using those online. I've heard a lot of people sample. It sounds detailed. It has a really good tonal quality to it, but it doesn't sound like it's electronic. Like, it doesn't sound like it's been electronically tuned to be a certain way. It just sounds like it was made with good components, and it happened to just be a jackpot regarding the combination they put together. To me, I think it's a good starting point. I don't own one. As a matter of fact, let me see. How much are those things? I don't want to be an impulse buyer, but that's me. This is why the channel costs me more money than I make on it. That's because The channel doesn't make a whole lot of money because I'm not a huge channel. I'm not a very big. I don't. Oh, that's it. $170. That's it. Audio Technica 8. That is the right number, right? The AT875R. That's it. $170. Wait a minute. Because if that's it, I'll just impulse buy it right now, and I'll play with it. Because yeah, that's it. Audio Technica AT875R line and gradient condenser microphone. Yeah, that's it. I've been actually wanting to play with that. Sure, let's buy it. Well, there goes all my profits for this month, and probably a little bit more. Let's just impulse buy it right now, so I'll have it in a few days. Proceed to checkout. Yeah. Cool. All right. So it'll be here on when? Tomorrow. Tomorrow, June 26th? What's the day? 25th. Oh, cool. It'll be delivered tomorrow. You know what? The video I'm going to be releasing on Monday, I'll wait until the microphone shows up, and then I'll shoot the video, and then I'll put that out. So I'll be using this new microphone. So there you go. Impulse buy a... Like I said, this is why my channel is so expensive. I spend more money than I make on it. But at least I'll have some opinions for you. So yeah, I hope to have some good information for you. All right. But yes, I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I'll have some experience with it very soon, Rick. So I'll be able to tell you more about it because I've heard it's a very good choice for a discount version of a shotgun microphone. And yeah. So there we go. We all like the detail and the way it sounds, but they don't fit for some of the small-eared folk. We only had the large size foams. Yes. Yeah. Where is those foams? Actually, they're right over there in the box. So yeah, I didn't think about them when I brought them over there, but yeah, I did need to bring the smaller foams because they probably would. I've seen your post on Twitter and the Walking Dead set a couple months ago. Definitely looked fun. It was fun. It's very challenging. I think my arms would be to get so tired of holding that boom arm. Yeah, it does get tiring. I used a 4017B today to save the day inside. Lots of noise coming from special effects. I find it really digs out the dialogue if an actor happens to be sitting in a plush chair or a bed. Yes, it does. Especially because plush chairs and things like that, like I've talked about, and you know this, Todd. I'm just going to say it to people watching, but a shotgun microphone pointed at a mouth picks up not just the mouth here, but it picks up what's behind them. So if I talk and my voice radiates off of this wall behind me because the bass cavity is close to that wall, you're going to be hearing that microphone is going to be picking off that bounced back bass. If I'm sitting at a table here and you have the microphone overhead, it's going to be picking up the reflections off of the table. So if you're sitting against a plush on a bed, or a surface like that, then if you cue the microphone directly above, then it's basically hitting a piece of acoustic, dampening material, and it's not going to come back up. But that's one of the reasons why I don't normally go square up and down on someone who's sitting on a bed, because to me it just sounds uninteresting and sterile, and you hear all the little squeaks and you hear them creaking around and you hear their clothes because their leg's going to be up in front of them. So what I usually do is I'll cue off of them a little bit and I'll drive the pattern to something else. So that way it's a little more realistic sounding for the room. But anyway, yeah, I love the 4017B. It's still my favorite microphone. That is why after watching your video about the MKH50 instead of the I guess that's 416 for outdoors and voiceover, I bought the closest thing I could, which happened to be an 8040. Yeah, I like the 8040. Yep, that's it. Rick on mic. So yeah, I should have my email confirming Yeah, there it is, right there. Wait a minute, 2 orders. What did I order? What is this other thing I ordered? Oh, it's stuff I ordered earlier today. Okay, it's just now shipping. Okay. I was like, wait a minute, what's this other thing? But yeah, there you go. Amazon order right there. It'll arrive tomorrow. So cool. Actually, I may make that video something that I'll release next week, because I'm thinking about. Yeah, I may release a different video first. I may make that the video I do next week instead. The show I'm on right now, it's kind of cool. They're only scheduling 11-hour days. So today was like a 9 or 10-hour day. Yeah, it was about a 10-hour day. Yesterday we went a little bit long. We went to 12. But Tuesday and Wednesday, I started the show on Tuesday. Those were both 11s. And they give a full turnaround for all the crew, for the actors and for the hair, makeup, wardrobe. They get full turnarounds too. So I mean, we had extra time in the evenings, and so I very well probably will be shooting some stuff or editing some stuff midweek, which I don't usually do a whole lot anymore. I usually just will burn the candle on both ends and shoot and then edit, and I'll be brain dead for a day or two after. Yeah, so yeah, that'll be it. But yeah, Todd, if I could get that the Mina back, then if y'all happen to do an expendable order and you want to send it to True, and True can turn around and send that to me with our next expendable order, just do me a favor, put a note or something like that, so that way they don't think you're returning a demo to them. That way they know to send it to me, because I actually like it a lot. Let's see. That's incredible. There is so much detail and experience just on that one response to booming person sitting on a bed. Well, I did the video a few months ago at my old house about how to use a shotgun microphone. And I forgot why, but I think I did this number, like how to use a shotgun microphone. I think I in the picture I make it look like I'm painting, and I gave myself a mustache. I don't know why, but that video got a lot of attention. A lot of people were, looking at that. Like even Mike Delgadio and Curtis and Banjo were just like, I've never, known the stuff that you're talking about here. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. To me, it's just like Todd was a boom operator. He's a sound mixer now. He knows it's just after a while, the sound that comes out of a microphone, you just know how to position it. You just know what's going to sound good. And if you do something and it's not exactly what it should be based on the situation, you kind of look at it and you say, what could I do differently? And then you think about it and you try a few different things, but you can react to it real quickly because your ear is tuned. And you're like, oh, no, that's not right. That's not right. Oh, that's it. That's right place. And then you'll do that. As a young Argentinian boom operator, thanks for the sound advice. Love your channel. Thank you very much, Denise. Really appreciate that. Haha. So how long have we been going on this stream? 2 hours, 57 minutes, and 46 seconds. Awesome. Any more questions? Actually, this is funny because this is a blender bottle, Todd. You can, since it says Zip Fizz on that, if it comes with like what looks like a wicker, it looks like it's made out of like a whisk. It's a ball, and you put it on the inside there, and if you were to, it's completely clear. It's like I said, it's like a whisk. So it's just a frame of like a wire. But if you put a Zip Fizz in this, the seal on it is really solid. So it clicks in place really well. And even when Zip Fizz starts to expand, it doesn't pop it easily. You have to actually put some pressure behind it. And so you can do this number, shake it up, and that little whisk will go around there and mix it very effectively, very quickly. And if you just, every time you go to take a swig, you just do this little number, it will remix it all. It's a really cool water bottle. And it's merch that 3 hours in, what's for snack? Today, there's a place on the top side of town called Taste of Britain. My wife is part British, and she loves Taste of Britain because that is a small mom and pop store owned by people that import in things from the UK. If you buy candy here, it's different than it is there because it doesn't have all the preservatives and everything is cleaner, or not cleaner, but it's fresher. They don't homogenize the milk to death, and then they don't. And so their chocolate will melt a lot quicker and easier because if you get it above like 70 degrees, it'll melt or something because it doesn't have preservatives in it. My wife happened to go there today, and she brought me back a few of those. And so there was some chocolate she brought me, and I remember looking at them on the desk and saying, I'm going to take those and put those over there, and I'll think about those after the live stream. But now I'm thinking about those because now you're asking me about snack. I'll tell you, though, Crafty is killing it on this show. They're given a budget. So unlike Legacies, where they were just like, oh, we're going to do our best possible, they're killing on the show. They brought out mellow mushroom as a second snack today, and we got that like half an hour. We got that at like 9.5 hours into the day, and then they wrapped us at 10. And it's like, this is great. Fill up on mellow mushroom pizza, and then they call wrap. And I'm looking over there, and there's a whole bunch of people leaving with entire pies because they had so much. They bought so much of it. First snack today was... What did they do this morning? Hot dogs. That's what it was. And they weren't just the little skinny ones. They were big, plump ones that were fat. They were cooked on a grill. Those things were good. And I would like look at this thing. I was like, man, normally I have 2 hot dogs, but that thing was plump. That thing was like that. And I was like, give me that thing. It was so good. Especially for working exteriors, all that the salt, the sodium was really good. So I was like, oh, I love this. They don't, They don't take slave child labor chocolate there? They don't take slave child labor chocolate there. What do you mean? It's a first world country. In the UK? Yeah, they make the chocolate ethically. What are you talking about? You can't even get American-made Mars bar anymore. Yeah. In UK, Europe, what do you mean? I went to Cadbury World in Birmingham before they closed it down because, EU, which really was annoying because it was great. I went to Cadbury World in 2004, I think it was. 18 years ago. Jeez. No. Was it? Yeah, it probably was. But anyway, so in 2004, when I went to Cadbury World, we got to see people making chocolate. They all looked like they had been doing it for a while. I mean, they were not people that were just like, children. They weren't children at all. These people were probably in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Some of them were much older. And they had places that were very interactive. So as we were walking through Cadbury World, we would look through the glass and we'd see people making chocolate. Many of them were making it by hand, and if not, they were putting it through there, and there were people watching the machines. But then there were stations that we would go to, and they would show us how they would make it. They would say, okay, yeah, we have chocolate in there, and now watch this. They pull out the little thing, and he would grab this and go, make a whole bunch of squiggles on this. Then he would say, now watch this. Squirt the chocolate in there. Then he was like, okay, and then this, and then he's going to put it in this flash freezer. He says, normally we let this air cool differently, but because you're here, this is a rapid cooling process that's going to be allow you to have this earlier, and it's going to cure itself in only a matter of a minute or so. He pulled it back out, and he would pop the edge of it, and we would tell him, like, wow, this chocolate's so good, because it was made literally in front of him. So I can't speak to Cadbury, at least Cadbury 18 years ago, because it was good. It was Cadbury World, and there were a lot of people that were probably older. They're probably like in their 30s, 40s, 50s, if not older, making chocolate. I didn't see anybody that was young working there, unless they were working in like the front desk, taking tickets and that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean that child labor isn't used, but then we use child labor here too. You go to a fast food restaurant, there's 16-year-olds working there, but it's definitely not like a like some places in the world where there's 8-year-olds after school, if they go to school, working another 6 hours or something like that. It's definitely not that. Our Crafty has given such a low budget that I bought pizza for the crew at noon yesterday. The crew was very thankful, and many made the effort to find me in my bunker. Yeah. Well, I remember like when I was there a week ago today, Billy bought a few pizzas, and he basically just took them in the back. And after we all grabbed them, I mean, the cast and everybody, it was the day that we had all those cast members. And there was a bunch of people coming in there and grabbing them because what did they have? Like a salad that day or something? I can't remember what they had, but I remember looking at that. Maybe it was the meatball subs. Is that what it was? Meatball subs. And I remember that I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And both you and Billy were like, no, they're not good. I was like, okay. And then Billy's like, I'm ordering pizza. It's like, okay, well, you order pizza. And then he ordered like a few of them. It's like, cool. The chocolate here can't be guaranteed that it wasn't grown or harvested by child or slave labor. Here in the United States? I don't know what you're talking about there, because we have laws against child that are child labor laws here. But then another thing you got to keep in mind is farms. There are children that work on farms. That's the reason why when you do your taxes, it says, is this farm or railroad income? On farms, children do go out in the fields and they work in the fields and they do, but that's part of being on a farm. It's not like, you're sending a kid off and they're working in a warehouse making, something. This on a farm, it's a little bit different. I know because I have a friend who, when I went to kindergarten through 12th grade with him, he lived on a farm, and he still lives very close by, and his family still owns that farm. But I would talk to him, and I went over to his house sometime. I almost misspoke. I'd never spent the night there, but I've spent many days there. But he was telling us, he would tell us stories. He's like, oh yeah, I went out there, and this morning I got spooked by such and such. I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, well, every morning I get up at 4 a.m. and I'm out there collecting eggs, and I have to feed the chickens and stuff like that. And we're just like, you do that every morning? He's like, yeah. And he says, I live on a farm. We have to feed the animals. We have to do that. And that was something that he was doing in like, kindergarten, first grade. He was going out there every single day, and he had been taught how to get the eggs and how to feed the chickens. And he was given jobs like that. And he would get up at 4 a.m. every day. And he would go to bed at shortly after dinner. So he would go to sleep at in the 7 o'clock hour. It was living on a farm. And it wasn't like, oh, that's child labor. That was just his way of life. And when he grew up, he still worked on the farm. And then after a while, he decided he didn't want to do that. So he was doing something totally different. So anyway, I want to dive down and go down that rabbit hole, but I can only speak to him and probably two other people I know that are farmers that farm. Okay. Going to type in chat in response, or what you're talking, especially trying to type in chat in response to what you're talking about when you're reading the chat after you've moved on. LOL. Yeah. Meatballs soaked in barbecue on a dinner roll. Yeah. Making me hungry. Talking about all those pizzas. Yeah. That melon mushroom tonight, man. It was so good. Cocoa isn't grown here. Yeah. I know that's imported in from other countries. I could make the same argument about a lot of things if you really want to go down that rabbit hole. A lot of the electronics that are used in your camera stuff, those come from China. Guess what China has? China has their system in place where they make products in order to get their rations. So many of the things they make are good. Many of the things they make are bad. And many of the components that are in your camera gear is stuff that is not made anywhere else. So is it being made by child or slave labor? Possibly. That's one of the disadvantages of export of buying so many imports from other countries and not having them here. That's one of the reasons why, if you watch my channel, you've seen me talk many times about how I buy American whenever possible. I mean, just the things I'm looking at, Zipfish, that's American. That's from Washington. What else do I even have around here? I mean, I have some soap. I literally got an order of soap in, and that's Duke Cannon soap. It's an American brand. It's the one that has the humongous bars. A lot of my clothes, I buy the American versions of them. I buy a lot of American products because I believe that once you get to a certain, once you, I don't want to say to a certain level because that's really not the right way to word it, but once you kind of, if you want something to last, the socks I love, Darn Tough. I talked about those in the Epic live stream. I made a video and I talked about socks, and I used the same Darn Tough socks I bought last year, and those things are working like a champ for me. And those are American made with a lifetime warranty. You don't have to. All you have to do is if there's something that breaks or tears in that, you just simply go on their website, fill out the little form, print it out, put it inside of a sock. They don't verify your purchase date or whatever because they're going to see the little code on that says Darn Tough, and then they'll send you another pair. Or not another pair. What they do is as soon as they arrive since you filled out the form, they'll turn around and they'll say, here's a credit for the amount that it would take to buy you a new pair. So you basically take that coupon code in and you put it on their website, and it negates out, give you free shipping, and they'll send you a new pair. Things like that. To me, I buy American. On Black Lightning, season 4, because that was the COVID year after shooting 6-7 months there, I bought a bunch of made in the USA handmade masks. I didn't want to just buy a whole bunch of pre-printed stuff from some big store or whatever else. I bought it from a small business owner on Etsy who handmade masks with his family. And so I made a bunch of them, and it was going to cost me to get a batch of, I think it was about 100 of them, maybe a little bit more. It was going to cost me $500-$600, and the Sound Utility split the cost with me. But then we had to start rationing them, and he was like, well, this is kind of tough. And the sound mixer saw that they were going over really well, and so so that was Aaron. He ended up giving me, I think, $300 almost to buy some more, so that way we can make sure that everybody who needed them would get them. And those were masks. On one side it said Soundspeeds with the logo, and on the other side it said Black Lightning Season 4. And but those were handmade by a guy. To me, part of being responsible when you start to have a little bit more financial stability and stuff like that is helping your fellow man, helping other people, helping not just fellow man but fellow women, obviously. And I don't like doing yard work, so we hire a guy, and he comes every 2 weeks, even though we could probably do it every 3 weeks. But he's a very good guy. Every time he comes here, I go outside and give him a cold water and a Zip Fizz before he leaves. And I'll tell him, you got to keep hydrated. You got to keep your electrolytes up. And every single time he's very appreciative and thankful. And there's a lot of American shop, like the Taste of Britain shop that I was talking about earlier. Sure, I could import in through British export companies and buy stuff shipped here, but supporting a local business that you appreciate what they do, the effort they put into actually making a business out of getting imported goods. Many of them you don't know if they're going to sell. Many of them have a shelf life of only sometimes a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, because they're made very fresh. We'll get sausages from there, and we'll bring them back here, and we'll have their battered sausage rolls. They're so good, but they are actually made the old school way. They're made, not the old school way. They're made the way that they are in the UK. And when you have them, they're made by a small bakery here and then sold as part of the Taste of Britain. And I tell you, we have some in the freezer, and they're good. But I'm a big believer in buying American. Support your fellow man, support your fellow neighbor, support. It's not just the same as buying Girl Scout cookies from the Girl Scouts that come to your neighborhood, or they're now very overpriced, or the overpriced popcorn that the Boy Scouts will come and sell. Sure, that's supporting your community as well. But to me, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with just supporting your community, helping the people that you live near. Whenever I can, I'll buy local, I'll buy American. So it's just my personal thoughts on it. But if there's a way to have cocoa, that was grown here, believe me, I'd be all about that. Which, if you watch my video on the Really Right Stuff boom poles, I in the middle of that, before I talked about what I thought about it, I did a demonstration of making a premium hot chocolate, and I used a hot chocolate made from a local farm with camel's milk that was from the farm that I think my wife got it from was in, where's it? In Utah, I think, maybe something like that. I think it was Utah. Anyway, but I used all the different, and I used like the better quality versions of a bunch of things. So I was showing how to make a premium cup of hot chocolate and comparing that to making a premium boom pole. Anyway, everything imported from Africa and Asia has horrible labor practices. I just use the chocolate as it helps with my diet. Cool. What are we going to do? I mean, we can buy. The thing is, though, we can't just police everything. We can't just control everything in the world. If you want to have chocolate, if it's only imported from those places, if an American place wanted to start making chocolate, or if they wanted to create an artificial, humongous greenhouse and keep it at the right temperature and made sure it was always done the right way, and we made cocoa there, I'm sure there would be a big push behind it. Just like Dr. Squash is, whenever you look at soap on Facebook, there's always the ads for Dr. Squash, even though the soap is like this big. It's like $5. Goes really fast. But yeah, I'm all about ethically produced, products. Absolutely. And buying American is obviously my favorite. I love buying American. I should get that mouse off the screen. Sorry about that. Well, we just went down a rabbit hole that we didn't need to go down. 12 people watching still, 3 hours and 16 minutes and 20 seconds in. No more questions, it seems. People are watching, probably, have gone to sleep long time ago and just have the stream on, and they're going into a coma, hearing me rant and rave about whatever else. But if there's no more questions, then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and call the live stream here, because we've done more than we said we would. I have chocolate over there to eat. I can definitely do that. I can then probably watch something, then go to bed, wake up, and have that massage tomorrow. It'll be a great day. And then my wife says on my way home, go by and grab something from Costco. I can't remember what. Love your videos. Happy 5 years. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Yeah. The 5-year thing is just uploading. So 5 years as of tomorrow, I uploaded my first 2 videos at the same time and released them. One of them was a channel intro, and one of them was my first video. But the channel actually existed for 6 or 7 weeks before that. It's just I was finalizing everything and wanting to make sure I was fully ready to start releasing content. But thank you. So all right then, that would do it, I guess, for this stream. We answered some questions, not really a whole lot of technical ones, but hey, hopefully we had some fun here. And if you're watching this on replay, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And regardless, I guess that's it for this stream here. What was that last comment? I was just about to how you come over at camera fair? Oh, I'm just naturally I've never had stage fright. I'm naturally, Todd's in here. He'll tell you, I've never met a stranger. I'm very extroverted. I'll walk into a room and I'll just start talking to people. No problem talking to people. I'll do public speaking things, and I'll talk to people, and I'll say how many people are going to be there, and they're like, maybe 150 to 180. Is that all right? I'm like, yeah, sure. And they're like, how many people are you comfortable to talk up to? I'm like, bring them in. I don't care. However many people, bring them in. And then I remember this one school I went to, and they're just like, after I did my the first class, I was basically addressing a few classes. And I said, I'm happy just talking to first, second, third, fourth, however many classes you want me to talk to. And they're like, well, if you're okay talking to more, we'll bring in different classes at different times. I'm like, sure. And I remember talking to a few different classes, and by the end of the day, the teachers wanted to hear what I had to say. So the very last class of the day, I remember saying, man, this place is really, really big, and it's really, really full now. It wasn't just, this little front and middle section that I was talking to anymore. It was huge, auditorium. And so as soon as we were done, I said, how many people were in this? And they said, oh, the whole school was there. How big is that? 2,000 people, 2,000 plus people was in that. And I was like, that was 2,000 people? I'm like, yeah, a little bit more, but yeah. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And they're like, you weren't nervous about that at all? I'm like, no, why? Why would I be nervous about it? It's just, I'm not scared of talking in front of people. And words usually flow easier for me when I do a live stream because I'm not trying to worry about getting every little syllable right, every little word right. What is my exact thought? How do I vocalize that? I'm very capable of just speaking my thoughts and minds. When I do my video presentations and I sit there and say, okay, I got to say this. And so I say it, and then I'm like, botched a word. Say it again, botched a word. Can't get past the first couple of words. Start over again. Over and over and over again. Watch my video where I think I say, what's it called? It's something with outtakes. Hold on 1 second. I'll do a search for outtakes. The look of sound speeds with outtakes. That's a fun video. I will leave you with this one in chat, so that way you can watch this one later. Because this one was a fun one. What I basically did is I started recording an episode of Sound Speeds. Here it is right here. If you watch that video, I start off sound speeds and then I try to get it out, and I botch it over and over and over and over and over again until I finally get it a little bit more right, and then I move on. And I only put in about a third to maybe a quarter of the total scripts that I did. It takes me forever to do an actual episode whenever I script it out or whenever I follow an outline, because it takes me forever to get those ideas out. You've seen me in live streams where I circle around and I basically take a topic and I'll just start, attacking it and completely do it. And then I get all the way back around to the beginning again, and I'll start to do it again because I just have to say the same thing over and over again. And that's me. That's who I am. So sorry about that. Great stream. Hope you have a great night. Love the audio, insight, and story. Sure thing. What I need to do is I need to just listen. I need to start making a list of more stories I want to tell. And then I'll come to the stream and I'll just start telling them if people want to hear it. I need to make a list of stories that are ready to go. And maybe I'll do that. That way I have stories to tell. Because there's a lot of stories. I would love to tell some of the ones about today or earlier this week. There's some funny ones. There was a couple of times that I was laughing so hard just because of crazy stuff that we see on set. But I can't do that because of non-disclosure agreements, and this show we're in our first week. I'm not going to go and start telling stuff that happened on the show first week. Wait until the show's been out for a bit, and then maybe I'll talk about it, but not now. Anyway, thank you for coming out tonight and joining this live stream. Thank you very much. Also, there was somebody who joined at the very beginning of it. Let me see if I can go up and find that in chat. Joey became a supporter. So I very much appreciate that, the support in the membership, not just joining as a subscriber, but joining as a membership. So that is highly appreciative. And so welcome aboard, Joey. And aside from that, thanks everyone for coming out and joining me for this in a Friday night. And I will see you very soon yet again. And maybe in a live stream, maybe in just a regular video, but I'll see you again.